Ningning's voice echoed in her mind. I'm dead. She felt like she was flying towards a space completely different from the world she once lived in. The voices of the medical staff in the hospital still echoed in her ears. Name, Ningning, lifespan, 17 years, terminal illness, died in a hospital bed. But when she realized she wasn't dead, but had completely transmigrated to another space, a clear look of displeasure appeared on her face. Honestly, she asked and answered herself, was it really death? She had lived in this space long enough to confirm this. At this moment, she was rushing through the semicircular archway, heading toward the disciples' quarters of the Shuangshu Sword sect. There was a reason for her haste. As she walked, she reached out and gave the command, "System, display the mission panel." Let me recall the plot again. As expected, her transmigration to this world wasn't natural. The unlucky girl, Ningning, had just died from serious illness and then encountered this strange system, forced to drag her body along and survive in this world. But she seemed to be trying to accept and adapt. She reread the script of her life. That night, she died from her illness, a bolt of lightning sending her into that male-oriented Xinsha novel, Sword Breaks the Sky, that she had once read. In her memory, the image of a boy kneeling curled up on the cold ground suddenly surfaced, a woman beside him screaming and cursing, "You ruined my life. You shouldn't have been born, you cursed bastard." The system continued to summarize the content for Ningning. In the original story, the male lead, Pei Shi, was the reincarnation of an omnipotent genius of the ancient sword path. But because he lost the Sword Venerable's memories, he suffered endless bullying and humiliation from the villains. The image of Pei Shi covering his head, being trampled underfoot by his fellow disciples, appeared before Ningning's eyes again. Those fellow disciples cursed, "Mediocre aptitude, a mongrel of demon and mortal, you dare to enter our Shuangshu Sword sect." Another person chimed in, "I think even stepping on him dirties my shoes." But these curses and abuses still couldn't break Pei Shi, Ningning thought to herself. Yet in the end, he still used the excuse of a mortal sword entering the body to step onto the great path in one fell swoop, becoming the #1 sword cultivator in the world. The story of Pei Shi's reversal of fate continued to unfold before her eyes. Ningning continued to carefully read the instructions displayed by the system before her. Your identity is Ningning, the direct disciple of the Tangxianzi elder. She pondered, the original owner was born wealthy, with exceptional talent, and had been spoiled by her family since childhood, thus developing the bad habit of only caring about herself. The system continued to transmit information to her. Originally, the two of you had no interaction, but in today's sect competition, the original owner lost to Pei Shi. Humiliated and enraged, she wanted to settle the score with Pei Shi. Ningning screamed inwardly, "What the hell?" Such a high-stakes game right from the start. But the damn system didn't care and continued to output. You are the direct disciple of the Tangxianzi elder, yet you were defeated by Pei Shi, a mediocre outer disciple. You suspect him of cheating and are invited to Pei Shi's room to curse and trample him according to the original story. Ningning was shocked when she saw the words curse and trample. What the hell? Why does this system have so many violent plots? But the system seemed to want her to understand that it was speaking the truth. Before she could retort, the system threw another large chunk of information at her. Reminder again, you must complete the main storyline. All character actions must be logical and cannot deviate from a plot. Ningning thought frantically, absolutely not. What the hell is this? Damn it, it actually wants me to turn my personality into a garbage dump. Ningning thought to herself, I've never cursed anyone in my life, and I don't want to follow that self-destructive, vicious female supporting character route. But just then, the system's words appeared clearly in her mind. After all tasks are completed, you can start anew in this world with a new identity. Otherwise, you will die on the spot and return to your original world. At this moment, Ningning could only reluctantly comfort herself, thinking about being able to live again with a healthy body, and that the male lead might even be reborn. Because of this, she made up her mind. Ningning, her face full of fighting spirit, had already made her decision. Putting on a most vicious expression she could imagine, she decided, I am the #1 villain in this world. She walked into the courtyard and stopped in front of a room, thinking, the male lead should be here, right? Just as she was about to reach out and push the door open, shouts and sounds of fighting came from inside. Someone yelled, speak up, what kind of dirty tricks did you use? How could a waist like you improve so much overnight? Another person shouted, search his clothes, maybe we can find something shameful. Then another angry curse. You brats still dare to fight back. I'll beat you to death. Ning Ning stood outside the door, bewildered, thinking, how are they already fighting before I even went in? She hesitated, wanting to leave. However, she thought to herself, no way, I'll die if I miss the main plot. Thinking about her own life, she pushed open the door with all her might. Her eyes widened at the scene before her. A fierce fight was still raging inside the room, and a furious roar echoed, I don't mind killing you. The scene was utter chaos. The victim was sprawled on the ground, their face a pulpy mess, eyes and nose indistinguishable. The first man held a long sword, pointing it menacingly at the pulp, while the second man seemed to have noticed her arrival. The pulpy mess stammered in pain, I. Ning Ning sighed to sight. Good heavens, the male lead had been beaten like this right at the beginning of the game, unrecognizable even to a diehard fan. Noticing the stranger's appearance, the first man gave her a sharp glare, his tone full of warning. Who are you? Seeing that she had been discovered, Ning Ning reassured herself internally. It's my turn now. She entered performance mode, putting on a smug expression. Why have you stopped? Continue. The first man still pointed his sword at the pulpy mess, but directed a few wary words at her. What are you doing here? The second man seemed more refined, showing a bit of kindness, and hesitantly asked, are you? At this moment, Ning Ning took a deep breath and said confidently, I. She walked slowly forward, saying as she went, I'm here to find. The first man in the corner of the room seemed unconcerned by her appearance. She confidently pointed at the beaten, unrecognizable lump of flesh on the ground and declared him. Her expression clearly stated, this is the person I'm looking for. This seemed to surprise Mr. #1. Like a true actress, she immediately launched into a well-rehearsed line. TSK, you look pathetic right now. Do you know why I'm here? We're both from the Twin Tree Sword sect, and you actually use such despicable methods. If our masters weren't from the same sect, I would have killed you today, you traitor. Then, pointing directly at the deformed face, she sternly demanded, speak. What dirty tricks did you use in the sect competition today? The pulpy mess was terrified out of their wits, only able to stammer, I didn't. Oh God, where did this she-devil come from, interrogating me? But Ning Ning was fully immersed in her fierce role, roaring, you won't talk, huh? Then she glanced at Mr. #1, gesturing, he's all yours. She thought, it's best to leave this kind of thing to the professional villain. Seeing the lump of flesh cry out in panic, hands clasped together in supplication. All right, it's all my fault. Spare me. Seeing her goal achieved so quickly, Ning Ning breathed a sigh of relief, thinking, he confessed, this male lead is too cowardly. The next second, the battered fellow became even more cowardly, continuing to beg with his hands clasped together and his head bowed. I'll confess everything. Please don't tell the elders. I stole Peishi's sword, so he had to use a broken sword in the sect competition. It's all my fault. Please forgive me. Looking at the swollen face begging on the ground, Ning Ning suddenly felt something was wrong. She paused, saying, wait, you stole Peishi's sword. Aren't you afraid? She turned to look at the silent Mr. #1, screaming internally. It's over, I'm screwed. I've been tricked. Only now did she have time to examine Mr. #1. As she looked, she thought the plot said, Peishi is extremely handsome, his phoenix eyes always hiding something, and under his right eye there's. Thinking of this, she carefully observed his eyes, muttering to herself, a dark red beauty mark. Sure enough, this man had a red beauty mark under his eye. This Mr. #1 was indeed Peishi. She realized she had been playing the wrong role all along. An expression of extreme panic, confusion, and shock appeared on her face as she screamed internally, did I mistake the person? Didn't they say Peishi was mediocre in his youth and only rose to prominence later? Why was the plot twist so harsh? What was that scene just now? In their eyes, her memory fast-forwarded back to the scene where she berated the pulpy mess. Back then, she pointed at the person and scolded loudly. We're both from the Twin Tree Sword sect, and you actually committed such a despicable act of harming a fellow disciple. Harming Peishi. You're truly shameful, disgusting. And that person just knelt there trembling, constantly apologizing, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. The whole scene looked like a heartwarming news report. Ningning inwardly cursed this broken system. It didn't even provide character introductions. Where was the beginner's protection? Was she going to die if she deviated from the plot? Her calculating expression piqued the curiosity of Mr. Number 1, also known as Pei Sure. He wondered what was going through her mind. Mr. Number 2 silently observed her, seemingly knowing something about the original owner of this body. He thought, I heard this girl is usually arrogant and domineering, but today she's standing on Pei Sure's side. Could it be she's known about his strength all along and has been paying attention to him? With this thought, he put on a greasy smile and said in a sickeningly sweet voice, Oh, you two are truly a match made in heaven, a perfect pair. It's quite enviable. If I stay any longer, I'm afraid I'll disturb your sweet moment, so I'll take my leave. He was about to slip away when both Pei Sure and Ningning shouted at him. Pei Sure yelled, Shut up, while Ningning threatened quiet. He was so frightened that his soul nearly left his body. Pei Sure and Ningning then exchanged glances, their eyes filled with suspicion. Ningning said impatiently, What are you looking at? I'm not here to help you. I lost the match today, but that's only because I only used half my strength. I'll beat you one day, just you wait. With that, she snorted and turned to leave. In reality, she was trying to salvage the plot that had gone off the rails. As she walked, she thought, I'll save as much as I can, gotta get out of here. She was still lamenting inwardly, what is going on? This trip was a complete waste. Mr. Number 2 watched a retreating figure, stroking his chin and thinking, I heard that arrogant women fall for the men who defeat them. It seems what they write in novels is true. The naive swordswoman has unknowingly fallen in love. Now, this will be interesting to watch. He wondered, what is this guy watching a short drama on TikTok? Seeing her leave, he also quietly planned his retreat, stammering, denial. He had intended to run as he spoke, but a sword was suddenly pointed at his throat, radiating killing intent. This time, he was truly terrified. Pei Sure, seemingly not forgetting his purpose, pointed his sword at the man with a cold face and said, Your turn. Draw your sword. Night fell, and Ningning returned to her courtyard. She sighed wearily and entered her room. What a bunch of lunatics, she complained, opening the lunchbox she had scrounged from a fellow disciple. The chaotic events of the afternoon had caused her to miss dinner, so she had to beg for food. Recalling the afternoon's events, she felt extremely frustrated. She, who was supposed to be cursing Pei Sure's ancestors for 18 generations, had actually spoken up for him and encouraged him. Ultimately, the male lead was strong enough to deal with all those who bullied him, while the villainess had wasted her time protecting the so-called victim. Everything was a mess. She muttered dejectedly, carefully placing the goose meat into the alchemy furnace, intending to heat it up. Her mind was still racing. The plot, is this messed up? And I'm still not dead. Forget it, I'll fill my stomach first, and then ask the system if there's anything I could do to fix this. Lost in thought, she completely ignored the magnificent alchemy furnace, screaming internally, I'm an alchemy furnace. An alchemy furnace. She's using me as a microwave. But apparently, this wasn't enough. Ningning decided to go all out. She gathered spiritual energy at her fingertips and chanted in a low voice, 5 elements evolution. Gentle yet fierce flames, heed my command. Then, with a loud shout of ignite, a streak of purple flame shot from her fingertips into the alchemy furnace. This was the way to roast a goose with style. At this moment, the alchemy furnace's humiliation reached its peak. It spun wildly in place, as if protesting this mistreatment. With a loud boom, the room was blown apart. Ningning only saw a blinding white light before everything went black. As the saying goes, a scholar can be killed, but not humiliated. The alchemy furnace would rather self-destruct than be reduced to a microwave. Ningning stared blankly at the goose meat and the remains of the alchemy furnace lying in the ruins. Tonight's dinner was completely ruined. Covered in dust, she wailed with tears streaming down her face. My goose, Ningning cried, holding the goose meat as if it were her soulmate. Just then, a voice came from the doorway, senior sister. She instinctively looked towards the sound and saw an adorable little boy standing there, a super cute dragon race youth. The system immediately popped up a new task. The boy at the door is junior brother Lin Shun, the newly accepted direct disciple of Elder Tian Shinzi. As a senior sister, you have always been jealous of him for stealing Master's favor and plan to take revenge. System command: invite him in and seduce him. According to the original script, Ningning was both shocked and angered by this task, thinking they're not even sparing this child. But looking down at the goose in her arms and the dust covering her face, she felt a pang of self-pity. Who am I going to seduce looking like this? I might as well play a ghost. Looking at the handsome young man, Ning Ning thought to herself, if I treat him to roast goose, will he like me? While Ning Ning was still hesitating, Lin Shun had already walked in quickly. Seeing the messy room and Ning Ning's disheveled appearance, the young boy cautiously approached and asked, Senior sister, are you all right? Ning Ning replied, Yem fina. Just roasting a goose, that's all. But looking at the pathetic goose lying amongst the broken bricks and tiles, Ning Ning forced a smile, thinking, who am I kidding? Even a zombie wouldn't mistake that for a donkey leg. However, Lin Shun didn't pay any attention to the goose at all. His gaze was fixed on the center of the room. Then he pointed at the broken alchemy furnace and said, Senior sister, is this your alchemy furnace? Ning Ning shyly nodded, then added, do you know where I can buy a new one? As she rummaged through her sleeve for a money pouch, the young dragon, Lin Shun, suddenly said, but senior sister, aren't you already in a lot of debt? This sentence left Ning Ning stunned for a full 5 seconds. Having just transmigrated into this world and not yet having had the chance to check the original owner's accounts, she asked blankly upon hearing her junior brother's words, what did you say? Seeing her expression, Lin Shun explained, Master said that you borrowed a lot of money to refine your natal sword and haven't paid it back yet. He added, this alchemy furnace is worth 10,000 spirit stones. Ning Ning felt as if her wallet had been stabbed, but Lin Shun added another blow. Compensation for the damages will be another 5,000 spirit stones. At this point, she was seeing stars, yet Lin Shun continued innocently in that sandalwood table. Before he could finish, Ning Ning raised her hand to interrupt, wait. Then, pointing to the pile of debris on the floor, she said, aren't these everyday items from the sect? Aren't they just cheap stuff? But Lin Shun immediately clarified her doubts. Senior sister said she liked sandalwood, and the alchemy furnace had to be the best kind. Ning Ning couldn't believe her ears, pointing at herself and saying me. You don't believe I would be so extravagant, do you? She still held onto a sliver of hope, knowing the original owner came from a wealthy family. Ning Ning quickly asked, then what about my family? Aren't we very rich? As a result, Lin Shun, the clarification machine, replied, Master strictly forbids disciples from using their family's assets. At this moment, an image of her master giving her just a small amount of money, barely enough to survive, flashed through Ning Ning's mind. She still wanted to argue. Shouldn't the sect pay for cultivation? Then Lin Shun suddenly said, wake up, senior sister. We're sword cultivators. We're inherently poor. It was only at this moment that Ning Ning suddenly realized, thinking, right, I'm a sword cultivator, which means I'm super poor, dirt poor. It's also worth adding that, in the eyes of the public, sword cultivators always have that aloof, cold, decisive, one-stroke kill kind of image. These are the most distinct characteristics of a sword cultivator. But in reality, no one knows that sword cultivators are actually stingy as hell. It's common for high-level sword cultivators to argue with each other, a group of people refusing to yield to anyone, one yelling, what are you looking at? And another retorting, what are you looking at? There's plenty of blood here, come bite me if you dare. All of them have fiery tempers. Sigh. There's another reality. Among all the sects, sword cultivators always use the most beautiful and best swords, performing the most elegant sword techniques. In other words, for sword cultivator disciples, their sword is their life, all their money is spent on their swords, and the clothes they wear are always the cheapest. Every sword is called Little Wife, and all their money is poured into this little wife. Ning Ning recalled the first time she saw the original owner's sword, her eyes full of adoration as she stared at the sword, murmuring, this is the original owner's sword. My little wife is so beautiful. Don't worry, darling. Your mistress will definitely buy you the prettiest clothes and make you the most dazzling one in the entire sect. She also remembered thinking while begging for food. No wonder the senior sister in the kitchen looked at me so pitifully and comforted me, saying that there's still hope in life and not to do anything rash just because I'm temporarily broke. Then that senior sister gave her a huge roast goose. Ning Ning continued to recall everything that had happened, thinking to herself, let me see, whose family can't even afford a full meal from morning till night. At that moment, just as Ning Ning's thoughts were interrupted by a sudden ringing, the system announced. To ensure the host can successfully complete the mission, the last paragraph of the original text has been copied. Please complete the seduction scene with Lin Shun as soon as possible. Ning Ning smiled gently, her slender fingers brushing lightly against Lin Shun's sleeve, causing the young man to freeze, his ears turning red. Bright moonlight fell on the girl's cherry lips as she parted them slightly, murmuring softly, "The moon is so beautiful tonight, truly intoxicating. I'm in such a good mood. Senior sister wants. Would you like to admire the moon with me?" Reading this passage, Ning Ning suddenly felt lost. She was still entangled in the shameless scene the system had just given her, feeling dizzy and disoriented. Seeing her unsteady, Lin Shun softly called out, Senior sister, are you all right?" Lin Shun thought with some confusion. Senior sister seems a bit off. Even though she knew the script was incredibly embarrassing for the sake of her life, Ning Ning could only force herself to continue. She raised her hand, preparing to touch Lin Shun, reciting her lines like a broken record. "Junior brother, the moon is so beautiful tonight. Senior sister is in a good mood. Do you want to?" Before she could finish, Lin Shun's face was filled with panic. She continued reciting, "Let's go admire the moon together, okay?" Haha. But life never goes exactly as planned. Although the main content was a cheesy romance script at this moment, it immediately turned into a comedy. Ning Ning tried her best to send sparks with her eyes, but all she saw were swirling circles. For Lin Shun, this was a horror movie. He was scared out of his wits, screaming internally, "Help! Help! Senior sister Ning Ning. She seems to have gone crazy from poverty." After calming down, the innocent Lin Shun suddenly felt sympathy for Ning Ning. She was so poor that she wasn't acting normal. If he refused her invitation, senior sister would definitely be even more heartbroken. Thinking of this, the young man forced out the brightest smile he could muster to comfort Ning Ning. "Senior sister, don't be sad. I'll go admire the moon with you." But his face clearly showed he was enduring some kind of hardship, not the slightest bit happy. As soon as Lin Shun finished speaking, Ning Ning became suspicious, muttering to herself, "Wait," he actually agreed. Ning Ning suddenly recalled the original plot, remembering that this junior brother was a very important character in the original book. His true identity was the little white dragon from the East Sea Dragon Palace, a genius in swordsmanship in everyone's eyes. And because of his gentle personality and good relationship with Pei Shi, he naturally had a lot of scenes. However, compared to the murderous and unpredictable great demon Pei Shi, Lin Shun's image was like a white lotus, his aura much more elegant and pure. This was also because he grew up in the palace with little contact with outsiders, his personality gradually becoming introverted and shy, blushing whenever he saw a girl. Ning Ning continued to recall, in the original book, the first time the original host saw him, he had avoided her without hesitation. But now, he actually agreed to her invitation so quickly. How could it not be suspicious? But in any case, she had succeeded. Ning Ning was so proud that her nose nearly touched the sky. She secretly rejoiced, pretending to be pitiful really worked. Just as she was about to pull Lin Shun out to do this moon-admiring thing, the young man looked around and whispered, "But, senior sister, shouldn't we?" Lin Shun continued to scan the room, adding, "To tidy up the room first." As expected, Ning Ning, focused only on completing the system's mission, had completely forgotten about the mess she had made of the room. So, the two immediately began to clean up the aftermath. While organizing the cabinet, Ning Ning thought, "I thought this little prince of the East Sea Dragon Palace, who had been well-fed and clothed since childhood, would definitely be spoiled, but unexpectedly." She glanced at Lin Shun, who was currently focused on cleaning, his expression serious, as if this were the most important matter in life, and thought, "He's really good at sweeping." Seeing Lin Shun so serious, Ning Ning asked with a happy smile, "Do you often do these things at home?" Hearing this, Lin Shun revealed a bright, innocent smile, as radiant as sunshine, and replied, "I learned after entering the mountains. Master said it's a required course for sword cultivators." Hearing this, Ning Ning suddenly felt that the Jianghu was inherently treacherous, and this cultivation sect was also a pit. Even sweeping was a required skill. Ning Ning stammered, a required course for sword cultivators. But she knew Lin Shun was just too naive to be fooled. Ning Ning's conscience protested loudly in her heart. Master, you're too good at exploiting your disciples. But she couldn't expose her master, so she could only plop down on the steps and sigh. It's already so hard for us to earn money. Why is it so easy for others to earn our money? The conversation circled back to money. Seeing Ning Ning worried about finances, Lin Shun felt a pang of sympathy. Senior sister, he said, a friend of mine taught me some money-saving methods. If you need them, I can. He suddenly became flustered, looking at her shyly, and quickly added, these are my friend's methods. I haven't actually tried them myself. Ning Ning, however, seemed to see right through him, thinking, the friend you're talking about is yourself, isn't it? But she chose not to call him out. Having not received this kind of attention in a while, Lin Shun looked happy. He immediately reached out and pulled Ning Ning down to sit beside him. Come, sit here, he said cheerfully, and I'll tell you. Seeing that Ning Ning had actually sat down and was looking at him attentively, Lin Shun continued, actually, if your sect uniform is torn, you don't need to buy a new one. Just find a piece of white cloth and sew it up. He went on, then use golden cloth to draw the patterns. The scene seemed to want to immediately corroborate Lin Shun's words, prompting him to show the golden patterns on his sleeves as proof, but the absent-minded Ning Ning didn't notice at all. Her eyes widened, and she thought in astonishment, is our sect this poor? Seeing her focused gaze, Lin Shun became even more smug. Also, he continued, we absolutely cannot waste rainwater. We can collect it, heat it up, and use it for bathing. An image of the boy collecting rainwater hundreds of times in the rain suddenly flashed through Ning Ning's mind. But the boy's frugality didn't end there. Lin Shun added, watermelon rinds and pumpkin rinds can also be saved. They can be stir-fried for the next meal, making another dish. All right, even watermelon rinds. This isn't being frugal, it's being stingy. Hearing this, Ning Ning suddenly remembered a book called The Sword Cultivator's Survival Guide. This is the #1 sword sect in the world, she muttered to herself. She thought, other sects teach spells and swordsmanship, but the double-dwelling sect teaches its disciples how to survive in poverty. As if remembering something, Lin Shun suddenly said, oh, right, little senior sister. He reached into his robes and pulled something out, saying as he did, I didn't bring much with me from East City, only this night pearl. It can barely be considered money. He handed the night pearl to Ning Ning. If little senior sister doesn't mind, please take it and exchange it for some spirit stones. Ning Ning thought, money is just a worldly possession. Without the night pearl, I'll just drink more dew and eat more leaves. Meanwhile, Lin Shun generously thought, although this night pearl is my only valuable possession, if little senior sister goes crazy from poverty, her life will be ruined. What a pure heart. Looking at the generous expression on Lin Shun's face as he handed her the night pearl, Ning Ning's eyes reddened. This child is practically a little angel, she thought, tearing up. He's already so poor himself, yet he's still giving me his only valuable possession. Thinking this, Ning Ning quickly waved her hands in refusal, smiling at the boy. No, I don't need it. Don't you have very few spirit stones left yourself? But Lin Shun smiled at her. It's okay. Last time, Grandmaster G took me to the Wanjiang sect and we stole a lot of melons. We have enough rinds to eat for several days. My goodness, this child talks about living off melon rinds like he's talking about eating ginseng. What a good boy. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Shun realized he had let something slip. He quickly turned his face away, annoyed. Oh no, I let it slip. Now little senior sister will know that the friend is actually me. The boy's face flushed red. How embarrassing. I wanted to leave a good impression on little senior sister. However, Ning Ning seemed not to have noticed Lin Shun slip up. She just laughed happily and said to the boy, wow, enough melon rinds for several days. How many melons did you and Grandmaster G steal? Didn't anyone from the Wanjiang sect catch you? She laughed heartily as she spoke. You're so bold. Lin Shun quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Little senior sister didn't notice. Seeing Ning Ning so interested in his story, the boy, who rarely had the chance to share like this, happily replied, quite a lot. Little senior sister, do you want to hear the story of how we stole the melons? Ning Ning feigned extreme anticipation. Yes, I'm all ears. Tell me. Lin Shun smiled and began his story enthusiastically. Grandmaster G and I sneaked into the Wanjiang sect's melon patch in the middle of the night. At first, I was a little hesitant, but Grandmaster G said, stealing melons doesn't count as stealing. A sword cultivator's things can't be considered stolen. Ningning pretended to listen with great interest, but inwardly, she breathed a sigh of relief. Phew, that was close. Luckily, I reacted quickly and played dumb. Looking at those red, teary eyes and that pale little face, she knew that if she exposed him, he would probably really cry. Exposing the little wolf cub, Lin Shun, would be too heartless. Such a good little junior brother, she thought. I must protect his pride. Dawn broke. Ningning, having not slept all night, had dark circles under her eyes. In the end, I became the victim of a melon-stealing story, she thought glumly. She had been forced to listen to Lin Shun's melon-stealing story all night. But before she could catch up on her sleep, the pesky system issued a new directive, a new mission. The great sword set competition is underway. Resentful of yesterday's defeat by Pei Chusher, you have vowed to teach him a lesson. Go to the arena immediately and ambush Pei Shi during his match. Hearing that the plot was about to reach its climax, Ningning's face lit up with fighting spirit. She thought, finally it's time. I remember this is where Pei Shi turns the tables, where he gets beaten within an inch of his life. The image of Pei Shi covered in wounds from the original story resurfaced in Ningning's mind. She worried, but it's precisely when he's in mortal danger that he'll find his lifeline. An extremely determined look appeared on Ningning's face. This time, I must follow the original plot carefully. Pei Shi must be critically injured. Ningning immediately flew to the arena on her sword. Although she tried her best to hurry, she still anxiously looked around upon arrival, her heart crying out, oh no. The situation wasn't good. The fight below was already incredibly fierce. The clang of metal against metal, the surge of spiritual energy, everything before her eyes nearly overloaded Ningning's senses. Pei Shi and the sword sect disciple were locked in a deadly battle, both radiating killing intent as if this were a fight to the death. Ningning landed softly behind the spectators, watching the fight. Judging by the original plot, the disciple had already reached the golden core stage. Having seen Pei Shi's match yesterday, he knew not to underestimate him. To ensure victory, he would use a hidden weapon during the match. She stared intently at the arena, her expression even more serious than the two combatants. Good, she thought. I just need to wait for the right moment to launch a sneak attack with my sword intent. Hidden weapon and sword intent, a two-pronged attack. At this moment, Pei Shi's momentum was like a rainbow, his true energy concentrated at his fingertips, poised to strike. But Ningning was confident in her plan, thinking that Pei Shi would have no chance of escape this time and would definitely be severely injured. Just then, Pei Shi rose into the air on his sword, attacking his opponent with a palm strike. The disciple was no pushover and immediately raised his sword to block. But because the attack was too fierce, the disciple had to leap back, still groaning from the aftershock. He quickly stabbed his sword into the ground to steady himself, clearly realizing he had underestimated his opponent. With a bruised face, he gritted his teeth and cursed, damn it, he's just an outer sect disciple. How can his moves be so powerful? As expected, if he can't win head-on, he'll resort to underhanded tactics. Since he couldn't match Pei Shi in swordsmanship or internal energy, the sword sect disciple decided to cheat, secretly pinching a hidden weapon between his fingers. Pei Shi seemed unaware of the danger, continuing to press his attack. Ningning, watching from the side, also seemed to realize that the disciple, named Chun Zhao, was about to use a hidden weapon. She continued to observe, shouting inwardly now. It's now. She decided to make her move, preparing to unleash her sword intent on Pei Shi. She raised her hand, ready to recite the incantation. Wait, what was the incantation again? Ningning quickly pulled out her cheat sheet, finally understanding the benefits of diligent practice. Her mind was a blank in the moment of truth. However, she quickly recalled her usual practice. Staring intently ahead, her eyes focused, she rapidly recited the incantation. Swift sword without shadow, rain falls, flowers fly. A faint light suddenly flickered at her fingertips. When her internal energy had accumulated sufficiently, she waved her hand, sending the hidden force forward. Almost simultaneously, Pei Shi sensed a wave of energy coming towards him. He looked towards its source, his heart crying out, danger. Just then, his sword spirit, Qing, appeared in the form of a small companion. The sword spirit shouted, Pei Shi, be careful. Someone's attacking from behind. Recognizing the familiar sword intent, the sword spirit cried out again, this sword intent. It's the female cultivator who fought you yesterday. Even with the warning, Pei Shi only barely managed to dodge. The bright light of the sword energy still grazed him. At the same time, Chun Zhao saw that Pei Shi had dodged the strange sword energy, revealing an opening. A sinister smile appeared on his lips. He thought an opening. What a good opportunity. Chun Zhao immediately shot his hidden weapon toward Pei Shi. At this moment, Pei Shi was trapped between a powerful enemy in front and a sneak attack from behind, caught in a dilemma. The sword spirit furiously cursed. "Damn woman, I'll teach you a lesson." Seeing this, Ningning couldn't help but let out a smug chuckle. A hidden weapon in front, sword energy behind. Pei Shi's definitely going to get hit this time. Suddenly, a dazzling light flashed. Power collided violently in the air, and a loud boom echoed. Finally, the sword energy dissipated, and the hidden weapon fell to the ground, rolling to Pei Shi's feet. Chun Zhao and Ning Ning stared at the scene in astonishment, filled with fear and disbelief. They could hardly believe their eyes. Pei Shi, who had nearly been hit, and the sword spirit were also stunned, as even they didn't understand how Pei Shi had escaped such a dangerous situation. Ning Ning's face was full of doubt. She couldn't believe that Pei Shi had resolved the crisis so flawlessly. Searching for an explanation, she muttered to herself, "Did I miss?" Meanwhile, the sword spirit was communicating with Pei Shi, and both noticed Ning Ning's presence. The sword spirit glanced at her and said, "That female cultivator is smiling again. Did she do that on purpose? Did she anticipate Chun Zhao's attack trajectory?" Pei Shi remained silent throughout, offering no opinion, while the sword spirit continued chattering, not needing a response. "I understand now. That fairy not only helped you secretly, but she's also a top expert. It seems you're destined to be a good person. Even if you try to scheme against others, you'll fail." On the arena, Chun Zhao was exhausted, but he stubbornly persisted. He gritted his teeth, fuming, damn it. Who was helping him? He continued to charge towards Pei Shi, vowing to fight to the end. At this moment, Chun Zhao's mind was filled with only the thought of fighting to the death. If that's the case, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Seeing his opponent charging at him desperately, Pei Shi raised his sword in defense, calmly waiting for Chun Zhao's attack. Everything returned to the beginning. The two once again unleashed powerful inner strength, their palm winds colliding fiercely, illuminating the night sky. Below the stage, the disciples of the two sects discussed amongst themselves. I didn't expect the outer disciple Pei Shi to be able to fight evenly with senior brother Chun. Another spectator said, unwillingly, "They're moving too fast." Finally, a protective sword landed with a crisp clang, its tip embedding itself deep into the cold ground. Immediately after, a subdued figure fell heavily to the ground, gasping for breath. The whispers grew louder, and everyone looked curiously at the arena, murmuring, "Who fell?" Finally, they saw the loser clearly. It was senior brother Chun Zhao. His face was filled with disbelief. Pei Shi was still standing there, panting. The fight had almost completely drained him. The crowd buzzed with excitement. Pei Shi won. Pei Shi won again. He seemed to notice Ning Ning in the crowd. Amidst the cheers, everyone was shouting, "Amazing." Ning Ning, worried about being discovered, cried out inwardly, "Oh no, this plan completely failed." Just then, someone suddenly appeared, causing everyone to look up in amazement. Two figures appeared in the sky, possessing an extraordinary air. It was Elder Tian Xian and senior brother Manguay. Like the other disciples, Ning Ning couldn't help but look curiously at the newcomers. She thought to herself, although I don't want to admit it, that seemingly casual and scruffy sword cultivator is actually my master, who travels year-round and is gone for more than half the year each time. The two landed lightly. Elder Tian Xian of the Twin Void sect, with his silver hair, had an ethereal, immortal-like air. He said gently, "How lively." Ning Ning noticed the person behind the elder. It was senior brother Manguay of the Twin Void sect. In her heart, she silently commented, "That immortal-like, otherworldly figure is my senior brother Manguay." She suddenly recalled the original plot. According to the original story, Elder Tian Xian loves to join in the fun. Every time he returns to the sect and hears that the original owner has been defeated by an outer disciple, he immediately flies to the arena on his sword, just in time to see the seriously injured Pei Shi struggling against Chun Zhao. The elder always has an extremely gossipy expression, excitedly shouting, "Oh, someone's fighting." Then he jumps down to watch. Ning Ning continued to recall. Then my master slaps his forehead and decides on the spot, "I want to take Pei Shi as my disciple." The elder is as happy as if he's found a treasure. This outer disciple is a genius. Thus, a short film called Pei Shi's Rise to Prominence was born. Under the elder's appreciation, Pei Shi leaped from an outer disciple to become Elder Tian Xian's personal disciple, on equal footing with Ning Ning, a meteoric rise. From then on, Pei Shi's fate completely changed, and no one dared to bully him again. Now, the plot was repeating itself. Pei Shi appeared flustered when he received praise from Elder Tian Xian of the Twin Void sect. The elder said, "Not bad." At the same time, Manguay and Elder Tian Xian also landed lightly on the arena. Elder Tian Xian smiled as gently as the autumn breeze and asked, "You are Pei Shi." Although he appeared carefree, he was actually an elder who loved to be involved in everything. Elder Tian Xian thought to himself, "First meeting, I must leave him with the image of a handsome and extraordinary master." With his immortal-like demeanor, perhaps he was worried that his personality didn't seem like an immortal at all. But before he could even greet him, Elder Tian Xian eagerly asked, wanting to take Pei Shi as his disciple. Such a straightforward proposal nearly made Pei Shi faint, as it completely deviated from the script in his mind. No one knew whether Pei Shi fainted because of Elder Tianxian's proposal, which skipped the opening remarks and jumped straight to the conclusion, or because the previous competition had consumed too much of his energy. At this moment, Pei Shi had collapsed on the ground, unconscious. Seeing this, Elder Tian Xian couldn't help but gasp, clearly surprised by Pei Shi's condition. He feigned composure, acting as if nothing had happened, but inside he was already in tears. He tried to regain his immortal-like demeanor, but secretly complained about Pei Shi in his heart. "You didn't even give me a chance to be cool." Seeing this, Senior Brother Manguay immediately ordered someone to bring a stretcher and carry Pei Shi away. Before leaving, Manguay carefully instructed, "Quickly take the injured disciple to the infirmary." Everyone immediately gathered around and started discussing. At this time, a senior brother spoke up to disperse the crowd. "Today's sect competition ends here. Everyone disperse." Ning Ning also left with the crowd, but she secretly concluded, "It seems that Pei Shi's apprenticeship is a done deal. There's nothing left for me here." Thinking get out of here quickly, with the air of someone with a guilty conscience, she quickly blended into the crowd and prepared to leave. Just as she was about to slip away smoothly, a voice suddenly called out from behind, "Junior sister." This call made her freeze in place, her heart filled with panic, as if she had just been caught red-handed doing something bad. She turned to look at the person who called her and softly said, "Senior Brother Manguay." Manguay gave a light hum as a greeting. Looking at the young man in front of her, she silently commented in her heart, "Outsiders all say that this senior brother has an extraordinary bearing and unparalleled swordsmanship, the most outstanding disciple of the sect. But only I know." She looked at Manguay again and thought to herself, Manguay is actually a very scheming person. Ning Ning recalled Manguay's background. Before entering the immortal sect, he was only the second son of a wealthy merchant family. His mother had died early, and his status was low. He had a cold and aloof personality since childhood. Later, his father was bewitched by a demonic cultivator, which led to the tragic extermination of his entire family. He was only 12 years old that year. She secretly concluded, although he always appears polite and gentle on the surface, all that gentleness is a disguised facade. Manguay approached her and whispered, "Junior sister Ning Ning, before leaving, Master asked me to tell you to practice diligently and improve your swordsmanship as soon as possible." Seeing this senior brother acting like he was giving her a quest in a game, Ning Ning simply replied softly, "I understand." But in her heart, she thought, this senior brother's aura is no different from an NPC in a game, automatically triggering quests. But thinking about the quest, she glanced at Manguay again, thinking, could the next person have fallen into the trap? Be him, she screamed internally. Just then, a ding-dong sound suddenly rang in her ears, as ethereal as burning mosquito coils. The system popped up a quest. Manguay has superb swordsmanship and a stable cultivation base. You know that he doesn't like your stubborn and arrogant temperament, but you can't help it. Why not try to win his heart with a beauty trap? Then treasures and secret techniques will be at your fingertips. Please say the following lines. Ning Ning gently pulls Manguay's sleeve. A faint fragrance lingers. her voice soft as silk, her cherry lips slightly parted. Seeing this quest, Ning Ning panicked. What the hell? Why are all the quests so shameless? All asking me to seduce people. She shouted in her heart. Stop. Stop. Why does the original owner always like to take advantage of others? You are clearly a swordsmanship genius yourself. Why do you have to pester others? Unfortunately, in order to save her life, Ning Ning could only bite the bullet and continue acting. Seeing her gloomy expression, Manguay asked with concern, "Junior sister, what's wrong?" She immediately switched to her vulnerable mode and sobbed. "Senior brother, I lost a pay-sure. I'm really sad." Then she added fuel to the fire. "Now even Master is going to take him as a disciple. I have no one to rely on anymore. Only you, senior brother, can help me." After saying these lies, Ning Ning felt embarrassed herself, but the arrow was already on the string, and she could only follow through. She gritted her teeth, put on a determined look, and then directly threw out the beauty trap. "Are you free for happy hour tonight?" As soon as she finished speaking, Manguay's expression didn't change at all, still stiff as a wooden stake, making Ning Ning feel uneasy. But it seemed that Manguay was just too shocked. Just a second later, his eyes suddenly changed. He looked at her tenderly and affectionately and whispered, "I'm free." But in the next second, he tore off his gentle disguise and completely revealed his shameless nature. Manguay leaned closer to Ning Ning and whispered, "Then why don't I teach you something beyond your age tonight? How about that?" Then he grinned at Ning Ning, as if what he'd just said was incredibly romantic. Ning Ning's worldview instantly crumbled, shattering into pieces. She screamed internally. What did he just say? Has he gone mad? Or have I? No, he's senior brother. How could he be so direct? Is this his personality? Or has the world finally gone crazy? The night was silent, no one around. Only Manguay's heavy breathing could be heard from his room. "Senior brother." Ning Ning cried out in alarm. This really won't do. Her face was flushed, sweat pouring down, her whole body stiff as a board. Manguay leaned close from behind her and whispered, "Junior sister, are you tired already?" Under his guidance, she could only let out a faint ah. If you were the kind of person with impure thoughts, whose heart was still racing from the previous scene, this scene would be a bucket of cold water. "Ning Ning and Meng, guivereus practicing swordsmanship," she yelled in her mind. Nonsense. How could I not be tired after practicing swordsmanship for 3 whole hours? And treating a beautiful fellow disciple like this? Manguay, you heartless bastard. But even though she was angry and exhausted, Ning Ning had to grit her teeth and continue practicing, while Manguay calmly continued to guide her hand, chopping down and thrusting upwards. Ning Ning practiced while tears streamed down her face, thinking, so this so-called something not suitable for my age is actually such earth-shattering swordsmanship. It really is a responsibility I can't bear my age. Haha. Meanwhile, Manguay was extremely pleased to see Ning Ning so focused and hardworking. He thought, I didn't expect Junior sister to last this long. When she first came to me to spar, I thought she had ulterior motives, but now it seems I misunderstood her. Manguay continued to ponder what was going on. He recalled Ning Ning's confession, and how could anyone confess with such an expressionless face? He remembered Ning Ning's expression and tone, and couldn't help but chuckle to himself. Coupled with that heroic, death-defying voice, her pale face, and that mixture of shame and anger, the clearest thing was her unyielding determination. She must be unwilling to lose to an outer disciple, so she came to me to learn swordsmanship. Looking at Ning Ning's focused and serious expression, Manguay was so moved that he almost burst into tears, his heart filled with a sense of accomplishment. He secretly told himself, this is what a sword cultivator should be like. I didn't expect my always stubborn junior sister to be so motivated. But after a while, Ning Ning was almost crying, but still forced a smile to please Manguay. Senior brother, this golden snake sword technique is too difficult. I really can't learn it anymore. But what really broke Ning Ning wasn't the sword technique itself, but the complete upheaval of her entire worldview. Those she thought were one way turned out to be another. She cried silently in her heart. I think the whole sect is abnormal. Is this the fate of a villainous supporting female character like me? The voice of fate echoed in her ears like a lament. That night, the innocent little sword cultivator lost her dreams. I'm even more aggrieved than Xianglin's wife. I'm such a fool. Ning Ning thought to herself. I heard that besides the 3 I've already met, there are several other male leads to capture. Heaven knows how many monsters are hiding among them, just waiting to torment me. At this point, Ning Ning had reached her limit. Her legs felt weak, and her whole body trembled. She pleaded with Manguay, "Senior brother, I really can't hold on anymore." Finally, Manguay relented and said, "All right, that's enough for today. Remember to reflect on this when you go back, and we'll continue tomorrow." Hearing this, Ning Ning was instantly relieved and immediately switched to transformation mode. "Yes, senior brother. Thank you, senior brother. Take care, senior brother." After saying that, she ran off like a wisp of smoke. She ran so fast that Manguay was left standing there, dumbfounded, muttering to himself. She ran so fast, I wanted to invite her to dinner, it seems. But as soon as Ning Ning heard the words dinner, she immediately turned back and reappeared in front of Manguay as if she had never left. Ning Ning's face was full of smiles. Putting on a money-grubbing expression, she asked, "What are we eating?" After all, there is no greater hatred than the hatred of profit. The moon was high in the sky, and the night was deep, with only the dining hall still lit. She was so poor at the moment that she only stared at the food in front of her, oblivious to everything else. She thought, no wonder he's the senior brother. Not only is his swordsmanship superb, but he's also the only person in the entire sect who can eat in the dining hall. Because Ning Ning was so easily satisfied, as long as she was fed, she immediately switched to adorable little fox cub mode, wagging her tail and begging for head pats. She asked innocently, "Senior brother, is our sect really this poor? You probably don't have much money left, do you? For dishes and a soup, isn't that too extravagant?" Manguay looked surprised. "Shuang Su sect poor." Ha! Then he laughed at her naivety. "Junior sister, Shuang Su sect is a leading sword sect. How could it lack money?" Manguay said calmly, "It's not the sect that's poor, it's the people who spend the money who are poor. How many people in the entire sword sect can wholeheartedly cultivate their swordsmanship?" Just as Ning Ning was thinking, her senior brothers had a point. She muttered to herself, "Our master is a sword fanatic. He doesn't care about anything else. The moment he sees a good sword or sword manual, he throws money at it without hesitation." In her mind, the sect elders were like squirrels, scurrying around looking for treasures. They buy any good sword they saw, any rare ancient text they found, shouting buy, all over the world. If he weren't a sect elder, he'd be a prodigal son. She suddenly remembered the original owner's background, the memories flooding back, the original owner waving her hand and shouting, "This one, don't want this one, pack up the rest." What a little money bags. In fact, the original owner had also grown up in luxury, spending money lavishly, so falling into poverty now was only a matter of time. Then she thought of little dragon Lin Shun, who had also been tricked by some guy in the Jianghu. This is the sword used by the ancient immortal, three-eyed, true monarch. 100 spirit stones, no bargaining. Lin Shun stared at the sword with shining eyes and immediately declared, "I'll take it." Ning Ning sighed. Her junior brother was also a sucker, spending money carelessly and naively. Who knows how many spirit stones he'd been cheated out of. Then she remembered the legendary eldest senior sister, carefree and always dragging her junior brother along to steal melons and cause trouble. She recalled the eldest senior sister from the original story, whom she had never met, a drunkard who lived life one day at a time. Thinking it over carefully, she realized that everyone in her sect was unreliable, or rather, a bunch of spendthrifts. She worried, it's not the entire sword sect that's poor, it's just our group of weirdos. Birds of a feather flock together. A bunch of poor ghosts gathered in one place. Quite a rare sight. Ning Ning felt like a starving ghost, but as the saying goes, if you're going to be hanged, might as well enjoy the ride. What's wrong with getting a free meal? She finally stopped only when the bowls stacked up as high as her face, satisfied and sprawled across the table. Senior brother Manguay looked at her indulgently and said with a smile, "Get some rest tonight. We'll continue sword practice tomorrow at dawn." Ning Ning almost cried, "Senior brother, I really can't learn anymore." But Manguay still patiently consoled her. "Little junior sister, you've already mastered half of the sword technique. As long as you practice diligently, you will definitely break through. The most important thing in cultivation is to never give up halfway. You have to have confidence in yourself." Hearing Manguay say this, she could only take a deep breath and say, "Senior brother is right." But her stubbornness suddenly flared up again, and she shouted, "Senior brother, I really can't learn anymore. I can't." Secretly, she thought smugly, This is confident enough, isn't it, you annoying sword cultivator? But the truth was, 3 days later in Ningning's room, Manguay persistently called out, "Little junior sister, are you awake?" Seeing no response, Manguay called out again with some concern, "Little junior sister." Ningning dragged herself to the door and said weakly, "Senior brother." Next is the scene where the weak beauty is tormented. Leaning against the door, she said with a haggard face, "I persisted for 3 days. I really don't want to practice anymore. No matter what you say, it's useless." But today, Manguay was surprisingly agreeable. He took out a paper crane, a cute letter from their overbearing master. Manguay gently said to Ningning, "You've already mastered the basics of the golden snake sword technique. Get a good rest today. Master sent a message this morning asking us to go to his residence." He paused and added, "Also, to meet the newly accepted little junior brother." Hearing this, Ningning immediately perked up, her eyes sharp and her brows furrowed, because she knew who she was about to meet. Ningning thought to herself, this new junior brother must be Pei Shi. It seems the plot is entering a new phase, a clear look of worry on her face. She muttered to herself, before, it was all just minor skirmishes. What comes next is the true path of self-destruction. The scene changed to Elder Tianqian's residence. While recalling the original plot, Ningning thought, Master said living on a mountaintop is too lonely, and the foot of the mountain is too ordinary. Only halfway up the mountain has true immortal energy. She walked into her master's residence, looking around and thinking to herself, this place is indeed refined and elegant. But as she looked up, her gaze was drawn to the carved spirit beasts high above. Directly in front was an exquisitely carved dragon. But the dragon's eyes had been gouged out. She looked towards the main hall, where ancient vases and screens should have been, but the spaces were empty. She sighed. Many of the exquisite furnishings had been sold off. She looked around the empty hall, thinking it's utterly bare, not a single piece of furniture. This hall looks like a haunted house. She recalled the gossip she'd heard before about how her master had auctioned off his house to buy a famous sword. In front of the other elders, he'd peddled the place like a real estate agent, saying things like, it's warm in the winter and cool in the summer, a true gem of our twin void sword sect. Now only 20,000, no, 30,000 spirit stones. First come, first served. Who gave him the deed? How could he promote it so smoothly? That embarrassing house-selling scheme had been stopped by the other elders. In the end, they pulled some spirit stones for him and told him to stop messing around, or they'd all end up on the streets. She remembered how the elders had mocked him. Some said, this is important and you're selling your house. Others said, you're an elder of the twin void sword sect. How can you sell your own house? Finally, some were speechless, saying, if you want a sword, we'll help you get one. Elder Tianqian had asked in surprise, really? You'll crowdfund a sword for me? Note it down. Looking at the hall that resembled a haunted house, Ningning could only sigh inwardly, thinking her master was truly poor. Just then, someone called her name, Ningning. It was her master, Elder Tianqian, accompanied by her naive junior brother Lin Shun and the troublesome Pei Shi. Seeing her master immediately praised, I heard you mastered the golden snake sword technique in 3 days. That's amazing. It was worth selling even my pants to bring back this sword manual. The image of her master flying around in only his underpants, excitedly showing off the sword manual he'd traded for, flashed through her mind. She wanted to shut off the image in her mind, screaming internally, who wants to hear your pants-selling story? Did you really come back naked? However, she forced a smile and said, thank you, master. Then she changed the subject, looking at Lin Shun and greeting little junior brother. The child politely replied, senior sister. Perhaps afraid of hearing more about his master selling his pants, Elder Tianqian, seeing everyone assembled, said, since everyone is here, master has 2 important matters to announce. Elder Tianqian continued, first, this one on the right is my newly accepted disciple, Pei Shi. Ningning, you should already know him. Hearing his name, Pei Shi turned to look at her. Ningning cupped her hands and politely said, little junior brother, greetings. Upon seeing Ningning's face, the sword spirit atop Pei Shi's head became as excited as if meeting an idol. Wow, wow, wow. She's so pretty when she smiles. Quickly reply to her, Pei Shi. The sword spirit chattered incessantly. I didn't expect her to be your senior sister. This is fate. Finding the sword spirit too noisy, Pei Shi immediately sealed the talkative spirit with his divine sense. It was clear he already had a headache from the creature. Finally, Pei Shi glanced at her indifferently and replied, senior sister. His cold demeanor surprised Ningning. Ningning thought. He frowned as soon as he saw me. It seems he really hates me. Suddenly, Elder Tianxian suggested, by the way, I also want to see if your cultivation has improved. Little Lin Shun looked at his master worriedly, stammering, Master, do you want us to draw our swords and spar? Elder Tianxian immediately shook his head. I'm not the kind of person who would let my precious disciples fight and get injured. Hearing this, Lin Shun immediately beamed. Master cares so much about his disciples. I'm so touched. But Elder Tianxian continued, if you get injured, I'll have to pay for your medical treatment. There's no such thing. The feeling of being touched instantly turned icy. Lin Shun, who had been smiling brightly just a second ago, now felt his heart grow cold. Can this master-disciple relationship last? Then Elder Tianxian covered his face and chuckled. So, Master has thought of a better way. He suggested, how about you all take a trip to the floating pagoda? Hearing this suggestion, the three disciples were stunned, unable to react for a moment. Ningning fell into deep thought. The floating pagoda is the cultivation ground for twin Void Sword sect disciples. The image of a towering pagoda, its peak like a spear pointing towards the blue sky, appeared in her mind. The pagoda has 100 levels, each with an illusionary realm. Only by passing through the illusion can one enter the next level. Each level increases in difficulty, and no one knows how many remnants, fierce ghosts, and evil spirits are imprisoned within. The formations are ingenious, the illusions lifelike, making the experience feel like a true descent into the world for training. If it weren't for this extracurricular cultivation, everyone would probably be excitedly treating this like a 3D game with top-notch special effects. Elder Tianxian gave his disciples no chance to argue, decisively stating, I have already chosen suitable levels for you, which can be opened specifically for your use. He finally settled on a level for Pei Sure, a night exploration of the star-plucking pavilion, just right for a gold core realm cultivator. The illusion of the star-plucking pavilion materialized, filled with fantasy and magic. Then he asked, do you want to try it? Ningning and Lin Shun's expressions gradually became tense, because both knew their martial arts were still weak, and they would likely find it difficult to pass Master's test. Ningning secretly calculated. In the original story, the original Ningning was beaten bloody in the star-plucking pavilion, immediately ejected from the illusion, and bedridden for half a month. But before she could finish her calculations, Elder Tianxian herded his disciples into the illusion like chicks. The elders said happily, good, if there are no other objections, then let's set off immediately. Seeing himself pushed into the fire pit by his master, Lin Shun panicked. Master, we still want to think about it a bit more. Ningning also followed. Master, this disciple also? But everything seemed too late. The arrangements had already been made. The old elder cheerfully drove his disciples into the illusion, like a loving father taking his children to an amusement park, not forgetting to remind them, be brave, children, your master will wait for your safe return. The three couldn't resist at all and were quickly swallowed by the illusion. Lin Shun could only shout desperately, while Elder Tianxian waved his hand, encouraging them. Hold on. Ningning screamed inwardly. Having a master like you is truly our blessing. After a while, Ningning seemed to have traveled through a fantastical space, surrounded by countless points of light. Soon, a magnificent and glorious palace appeared before her eyes. Ningning murmured in surprise, this is the star-plucking pavilion. Completely different from what she had imagined. The place was bustling with people, and there were many boats on the river in front of the star-plucking pavilion, with many couples dating on the boats. Faced with the scene before her, Ningning's heart cheered. The fragrance of flowers, the singing, this lively scene, the illusion is truly amazing. Suddenly feeling something was amiss, she anxiously looked around, asking herself, wait, where are my junior brothers? Not seeing Lin Shun and Pei Sure, she realized that the illusion had separated them. Standing at the gate of the star-plucking pavilion, she worried about where Pei Sure and Lin Shun had been transported to. But then she thought worrying was useless, so she gritted her teeth and pushed the door open. Inside, the star-plucking pavilion was bustling and noisy, like a tavern. Ningning looked around, thinking, as long as I'm still in the star-plucking pavilion, I'll run into them sooner or later. The place was filled with scenes of unrestrained revelry, making one's heart race. Ningning recalled the plot of the original story. The star-plucking pavilion appeared to be an ordinary place, with hazy bamboo curtains, but in reality, the women here were all demonic beings controlled by the white bone lady. In their eyes, the guests were nothing more than a hot meal. Ning Ning gracefully crossed the hall and walked towards the stairs. She continued to recall the original plot. The main task in this illusion wasn't actually difficult. With the strength of the three of them, defeating the white bone lady wouldn't be a problem. But who knew? A once-in-a-century rare encounter occurred in this illusion. After everyone exhausted their efforts to defeat the white bone lady, the illusion didn't collapse, and they discovered that an even more terrifying monster was hidden within the building. Ning Ning frowned and continued to ponder. The original Ning Ning was beaten half to death by that monster because she was exhausted. I absolutely cannot repeat her mistakes. She secretly made up her mind. I diligently studied the golden snake sword technique precisely because I didn't want to be like the original Ning Ning, relying on others and barely surviving in the cultivation world. Since my talent is so outstanding, I should carve my own path with my own strength. Ning Ning clenched her fists, her face full of fighting spirit, her heart practically shouting. This time, I absolutely will not be beaten half to death and then ejected from the illusion. Come on, I can definitely do it. Suddenly, a rude curse interrupted her thoughts. You little bitch. She followed the sound and saw a man pointing at a girl in the corner of the corridor, yelling, I only touched you once. What are you acting so high and mighty for? A woman who looked like a madam quickly stepped forward to smooth things over. I'm sorry, young master. She's new here and doesn't understand the rules. At this moment, the madam hurriedly pulled the young girl hiding behind her forward and scolded her sternly, quickly apologized to this young master. The girl's face was full of terror, as if she was frightened, but Ning Ning saw through her act with just one glance. She shook her head, thinking to herself, good heavens, rescuing a damsel in distress in a brothel. This trope is so cliché. Suddenly, the pitiful-looking girl cast a pleading glance at Ning Ning. Their eyes met, and Ning Ning's heart skipped a beat. Oh no, this girl has set her sights on me. She quickly regained her composure and thought, if I hadn't read the original story and known how terrifying these beauties are, I might have softened a bit. With that in mind, she turned her head away, feigning indifference, unwilling to get involved in someone else's mess. But she didn't expect the girl to rush in front of her and shout, Miss, please save me. Before Ning Ning could speak, the girl rattled off. Lingbo is only a singing girl who sells her art, not her body. If that young master takes me away. However, Ning Ning moved swiftly, dodging her in an instant. Seeing this, the girl immediately switched to her damsel in distress act, saying pitifully, Miss, do you despise Lingbo's low status and refuse to help? Clearly, the damsel in distress script didn't include Ning Ning coldly refuses. Ning Ning sighed indifferently. Yes. The girl was stunned, unsure how to continue her act. This obviously wasn't the routine the madams usually taught them. Watching the other party speechless, Ning Ning secretly gloated. Sorry, the villainess has no morals and isn't bound by them either. The surrounding extras were also dumbfounded, not knowing how to continue the scene, as if they were encountering the situation for the first time. They were all thinking, that's not right. This woman has sword chi. She's clearly a disciple of a sect. Why won't she be a good person? Sigh, these people are so naive. Who said sect disciples have to throw their lives away? How foolish. To appear more imposing, Ning Ning casually pulled a girl over and said, I want this one. She then casually pulled over the girl who had been with the arrogant young master, speaking frivolous words. This sister isn't bad either. The second girl was momentarily a loss, stammering, Miss, tonight I've already agreed to be with that young master. Ning Ning looked at her, her tone mocking, so what? I merely touched you. Do you really need to act so high and mighty? These words left the other girl speechless, unable to utter a single word. At this moment, Ning Ning had a beauty on each arm, looking provocatively at the man. The girl in the orange dress, who had been with the man earlier, spoke up, Young master, save me. The man's pride was wounded, and he roared, You're shameless, daring to force. Halfway through his sentence, he suddenly realized something was wrong. This was clearly the protagonist's line. He thought in confusion, wait, why am I angry? I'm the villain. At this time, the madam in charge stepped forward to smooth things over, her voice sweet and charming. May I ask which lady you prefer? Ning Ning's lips curled into a faint smile. She put on an unprecedentedly domineering expression and declared loudly, I want them all. Remembering Meng Ju's teachings, Ning Ning thought smugly. Senior brother said sword cultivators should be more confident. The scene shifted to outside the Zhaixing pavilion, where Lin Shun was stunned by the bustling scene before him. He looked around, puzzled. I didn't expect this illusion to teleport us separately. I wonder how senior sister and the others are doing. Lin Shun started looking for his teammates, thinking as he walked. Senior brother and sister said there's bound to be a damsel in distress scenario in the Zhaixing pavilion. It should be nearby. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice. Don't run, beauty. Lin Shun immediately recognized it as his senior sister's voice. But when he looked at his senior sister, he was completely dumbfounded. He saw Ning Ning holding the girls from Zhaixing Pavilion, her tone suggestive, don't be afraid, darling. It doesn't count as soliciting if you don't pay. Lin Shun thought, shouldn't the damsel in distress scenario involve a Wan Ku Gongja going around snatching singing girls? How did it become senior sister? He stammered, say senior sister. At this moment, Ning Ning, who was holding two singing girls, also saw Lin Shun and greeted him cheerfully. Hey, junior brother, you're just in time. Want to join in? At this time, Elder Tian Xian was watching all of this through the illusion, amused as if watching a comedy, and laughed. Interesting, I didn't expect it could be like this. Suddenly, another elder's exclamation came from upstairs. Oh no. Elder Tian Xian was startled and subconsciously looked up. Elder Tian Xian slowly descended. Before he could exchange pleasantries or offer a warm greeting, Master Tian Xian immediately drew his sword, pointing at Lin Shun, and coldly commanded, draw your sword. Elder Tian Xian hurriedly waved his hands, saying, wait. I just came to see how my little disciples are cultivating. We can postpone our duel. The other elder obediently sheathed his sword upon hearing Master Tianxian's words. Suddenly, he took an interest in Tianxian's disciples, asking, cultivating, is this little star-plucking pavilion really worth all this trouble? Hearing this, Elder Tian Xian turned towards the entrance to the illusionary realm and explained, no. This star-plucking pavilion is different from the past. You should take a look. The two elders then began to observe the activities within the star-plucking pavilion. The newly arrived elder peered inside, slightly surprised. He muttered softly to himself. Inside the illusion, Lin Shun was swaggering through the main hall of the star-plucking pavilion amidst a group of Wankujadi fops/dandies. The elder asked Tian Xian, aren't your disciples only at the golden core stage? If they encounter that monster, I'm afraid they'll be in grave danger. Tian Xian confidently replied, not necessarily. Although the monster is dangerous, my little disciples have their own clever plan to deal with it. As he spoke, Tian Xian waved his hand, and the scene within the illusion shifted, a magical ability akin to manipulating a spirit board. The illusion now showed Ning Ning with one arm around a beautiful woman and the other around a glamorous lady, appearing dashing and elegant. Seeing this, the elder asked in confusion, I remember the scourge in the tower was originally a man. How did the floating tower turn him into a girl surrounded by beauties? The preferences of these illusion designers are truly strange. Tian Xian proudly retorted, this is my disciple, surprise. Like master, like disciple. The same domineering aura. The elder stared at the illusion, inwardly complaining. This disciple is even more outrageous than the original villain. That girl is practically forcing herself on others. Even the girl in yellow can't handle it. The young people these days all act like this. Tian Xian continued to boast proudly. I never expected my seemingly well-behaved disciple to have such masterful flirting skills. He pondered for a moment, then concluded, this star-plucking pavilion prefers the flesh and blood of righteous humans. Those demonesses certainly won't like her and won't pay much attention to her. Perhaps Ning Ning has already sensed something amiss. Guess what she'll do next? Master Tian Xian seemed unconcerned with the events unfolding within the star-plucking pavilion. He turned to Tian Xian and said, I'll watch with you. Once they come out, you'll come with me to the mountain peak for our duel. This person is truly single-minded, only thinking about sword fighting. Upon hearing this, Elder Tian Xian feigned dizziness, clutching his head and groaning. Senior brother, I'm truly exhausted today, I'm afraid. But the other elder gave Tianxian no chance to refuse, immediately seizing upon his weakness and decisively stating, "Win or lose, 100,000 spirit stones." 100,000 spirit stones. My heavens, that's outrageous. But Tianxian enjoyed this kind of game. He grasped the other elder's hand, ecstatic, and exclaimed, "All right, even if I'm torn to shreds, I won't be afraid. Even if senior brother asks me to descend to the mortal realm, I'll gladly do it. A little extravagance with money is harmless." The scene changed to a room within the star-plucking pavilion, where Ningning was standing by the window, looking around. Suddenly, someone called out, "Miss, the tea is ready." Ningning turned around to see the girl in yellow from earlier had already prepared the tea table. She spoke softly, "Please sit." The girl in yellow, named Zhao Yin, was a singer in the star-plucking pavilion. She gently poured tea for Ningning, saying, "Miss, the rule is that you can only choose one girl to accompany you each night. Mama is just worried that the girls will fight amongst themselves, affecting the harmony. Since you've chosen Zhao Yin tonight, Zhao Yin will certainly serve you with all her heart." Ningning accepted the teacup, thinking to herself, the fighting is likely a pretense. The real damage is to their feelings. Two demons fighting over one piece of human flesh. How could there not be trouble? She recalled the original story. The white-bone demon used living people as bait to entice the demonesses to serve her. But she never expected that the demonesses she seemingly controlled had already switched masters. Ningning gazed at her reflection in the teacup, pondering, "I need to think carefully about how to resolve this situation." Seeing Ningning's silence, Zhao Yin wrinkled her nose, feigning the self-deprecating manner typical of a flirtatious singer. What is the miss thinking about? Does she find Zhao Yin too boring? But these little tricks were useless against Ningning. She simply replied, "Yes." Zhao Yin was immediately speechless, unsure how to respond. However, the courtesans relied on their charm for a living, and the quick-witted Zhao Yin continued to flirt with her patron. "My heart and eyes are full of you, yet you're only thinking about the sisters who haven't arrived yet. It's truly heartbreaking." Seeing this, Ningning immediately retorted, "Since I've chosen you, Ms. Zhao Yin, to enter my room, naturally I have feelings for you. But is it impossible to like you and also like the other sisters?" Feeling this wasn't extreme enough, Ningning then used her cultivation as a weapon. "I am a cultivator pursuing boundless love in my heart. My affection for all of you is a form of selflessness, the great Tao. So, why can't my sisters love me selflessly as well?" Hearing this, Zhao Yin covered her mouth with a fake smile. "I like you, miss, truly, without a shred of selfishness." Just then, Ningning suddenly moved closer to Zhao Yin. Zhao Yin froze, startled. Ningning stared at her for a long moment, then softly said, "Liar." Ningning then pulled back, her face clearly showing displeasure. "If you like me, you should think about how to make me happy. If I can't be with the other sisters, I won't be happy." "Doesn't that contradict what you just said, sister? It seems you still don't understand the great love of us sword cultivators." Ningning's smooth talk made Zhao Yan's face stiffen. Having spent years navigating the world of pleasure, Zhao Yin had never encountered such a shameless opponent. She had exhausted all her tricks, yet she couldn't argue against Ningning's twisted logic. Inwardly, she cursed, "Don't you have any shame? You call this great love? You actually make two-timing sound so noble. What kind of monsters are you sword cultivators?" Furious to the point of almost revealing her true form, Zhao Yin cursed inwardly. "This little brat talks too much. I might as well just kill and eat her sooner rather than later." It seemed her prey couldn't take it anymore and wanted to strike. Ningning smiled triumphantly. "I'll tell you a secret." Zhao Yin maintained her fake smile, but felt a flicker of doubt. Ningning looked at Zhao Yin mysteriously. "I'm a sword cultivator disciple of the Twin Void sect. I've long seen through your demonic disguise." So bluntly exposed, the demoness Zhao Yin flew into a rage. She roared, "You dare trick me!" Instantly revealing her true form, Zhao Yin lunged at Ningning with her sharp claws, roaring furiously, "Little brat, I'll teach you a lesson." But Ningning sat still, closing her eyes and focusing, casting a spell. With a shout of shield, a protective circle instantly formed, preventing the demoness from touching her. Seeing the demoness miss, Ningning even chuckled gloatingly. "You've revealed yourself so easily. Besides, I was just stating a fact, not tricking you." Realizing her opponent was not easy to deal with, Zhao Yin thought to herself, this won't do. Her power is far greater than mine. I can't defeat her. She decided to change her tactics. I see. This little girl seems naive, and I'm pretending to be so weak. Maybe I can deceive her with a few words. So Zhao Yin continued her act, beginning to wail, "While Miss, save me. I was forced into committing these evil deeds. You don't know, the white bone lady on the top floor kills and drinks blood. She's utterly ruthless. If I hadn't obeyed her, I would have died on the streets long ago." Seeing her opponent's convincing performance, how could Ningning not play along? She turned around, feigning sympathy. "I know, sister. You seem so gentle and kind, but definitely not a bad person." Ningning then put on a righteous air, declaring to the demoness, "Don't worry, sister. I will definitely avenge you." Zhao Yin pretended to wipe away tears, gratefully saying, "Thank you, Mississippi." Her eyes looked incredibly sorrowful as she turned her head, but inwardly she was overjoyed. Naive. Even folktales from 10 years ago weren't this foolish. I have to take this opportunity to slip away and warn the others. Then all the sisters in this building can attack her together. Let's see if this little brat can survive then. Believing she had gained Ningning's trust, Zhao Yin began to chat with her intimately, saying that as long as Ningning was willing to deal with the white bone lady, Zhao Yin would do her best to help with any request. Hearing this, Ningning appeared very excited, as if she couldn't wait to rush up and smash that old hag to pieces. She immediately pressed Zhao Yin, "What exactly is going on in this building? Can you explain it clearly?" So Zhao Yin began her story. "We were originally demons from the mountains, forcibly brought here by the white bone lady to specifically absorb the spiritual energy and blood of mortals. According to Zhao Yin, the courtesans here seem to be victims." She subconsciously touched her face, continuing, "The faces of the girls in this building are all disguised with the skin of beautiful women, just to deceive the patrons." Hearing this, Ningning's expression shifted to one of shock and alarm. She covered her mouth, gasping, "These masks are made of human skin." It seemed that despite being called a demoness, Zhao Yin was still quite naive, revealing everything with just a few words. In response to Ningning's question, she shook her head. "The masks are created with spiritual energy, not flesh and blood. If a female guest has exceptional beauty, we create a mask identical to her face, to be used later." With that, she immediately gave a demonstration. A few simple hand gestures, and a new face appeared in the air. She boasted proudly, like this. Zhao Yin handed the mask to Ningning, staring at it and saying, "This is my face, exactly the same." Seeing Ningning completely engrossed in the newly conjured mask, Zhao Yin quietly stood up, thinking to herself, "This is my chance if I just rush out." But before she could reach the door, Ningning suddenly exclaimed, "I understand." Zhao Yin asked, puzzled, "Understand what?" Ningning looked directly at the demoness, a triumphant smile on her face. "I understand how to raise this building to the ground." Zhao Yan's face paled. She snapped, "What did you say?" Unfortunately for the wool-selling team, a sharp sword was suddenly drawn. Everything happened in a flash. Ningning's figure blurred, the tip of her sword thrusting forward. By the time Zhao Yin reacted, the blade had pierced her abdomen. She stammered, You. Ningning laughed softly. "Thank you, sister. Goodbye." Zhao Yin collapsed, seemingly unwilling to be defeated so easily. In a final, desperate cry, she yelled, "Damn it, I should have eaten you." But Ningning wasn't angered. Instead, she cheerfully held the mask, replying casually, "Oh my, why are you so fierce? Eating people is only done out of desperation, right? Were you lying to me?" She stepped forward, stroking Zhao Yan's increasingly pale face, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "Promise me, use fewer of these tricks in the future. Be more sincere, don't lie anymore, okay?" She added, the helpless damsel story stopped working in the Jianghu 10 years ago. The enraged demoness could no longer speak, only gasping her last breaths. You. Then she collapsed silent. Ningning turned and left without a trace of regret or pity, not forgetting to leave a parting shot. Exposing and slaying demons, that's who I am. With the crucial prop in hand, she looked towards the door, her mind still working. Now it's time to find the true master of this building. The image of a massive, terrifying demon flashed through her mind. The ghost mother of Een Mountain. Ningning gripped her sword tightly and stepped out of the room, calculating silently. The original story said that the big boss behind all this is hiding in the secret passage beneath this building. She was severely injured by the sword sect elder and came here to absorb pure yang energy to recover. She recalled the plot as she walked. The ghost mother's true form is heavily injured, so she can't fight the white bone lady yet. Soon, she descended into the dark, gloomy passage below. Looking around, she couldn't help but shiver. The place was desolate. She muttered to herself, "The white bone lady only thinks human spiritual energy is weak. She hasn't realized she's making things easier for someone else." The further she went, the more unpleasant the air became. Ningning thought, the smell of blood is too strong. She covered her nose and looked around. This must be it. The cave ahead is the ghost mother's lair. As soon as the thought crossed her mind, a giant, spider-like monster slowly crawled out of the darkness. Ningning froze for a moment, then looked directly at the monster, blurting out, "That's the ghost mother of Een Mountain." The demoness on the monster's back suddenly looked up and asked, "Who's there?" Seemingly recognizing Ningning, she added, "A sword cultivator, and yet unafraid." Ningning lifted her chin, a smug look on her face. "That's right. I heard the ghost mother of Een Mountain is powerful. How did you end up stealing other people's yang energy?" She stared at the creature before her, speaking confidently. "This star-plucking pavilion wasn't built by you, was it? Aren't you afraid the true owner will find out?" The spider demon sneered. "I'll absorb whoever's yang energy I please, and come and go from the star-plucking pavilion as I please. Why would I be afraid of that useless thing on the top floor?" However, this didn't make Ningning flinch in the slightest. She maintained her calm demeanor and continued, "Oh, you're seriously injured. I'm afraid you no longer have the strength to resist." Hearing this, the spider demon sneered, "Ridiculous. In this building, I am the true master. More than half of the lesser demons here are my puppets." She flaunted her power, her face full of confidence and pride. "Once my power is fully developed, I will snatch this star-picking pavilion from that old woman sooner or later." What a beautiful dream. She schemed as if the building were truly an ancestral inheritance passed down through 18 generations of her family. She looked down at Ningning and roared in a show of force, "You're just a small sword cultivator. Do you really think you can subdue me?" But Ningning remained unchanged, her gaze fixed on the demon, her eyes firm, as if she already had a plan in this game. Just as the spider demon's sharp claws were about to pierce her, Ningning said confidently, "It's not me who wants to subdue you." Hearing this, the attack suddenly stopped. Ningning bowed her head respectfully and stepped back, saying, "Madam, did you hear that?" Behind Ningning, a young woman walked over gracefully. The spider demon clearly hadn't expected this turn of events and yelled angrily. What? In her heart, she wished she could curse. This damn sword cultivator had actually brought that old woman here. Lady Whitebone walked over slowly and said indifferently, "I was wondering why I haven't been sleeping well lately. It turns out a wild pheasant from the mountains is making a ruckus here." Ningning stood quietly to the side, thinking to herself, the good show is about to begin. Lady Whitebone was indeed a stunning beauty, and her elegance remained even when facing the spider demon. Lady Whitebone faced the ghost mother of Mount Een directly and ruthlessly. "You think you're worthy of stealing my primordial yawn. Your mouth just yaps like a dog. Look at your half-demon, half-ghost appearance." She couldn't help but sneer, "Just watch me break your rotten legs." Seemingly realizing she was at a disadvantage, and that facing two people was never a good thing, the half-baked spider demon said, "You want to team up with those righteous sword cultivators against me? That little bitch clearly wants to reap the benefits while we fight each other to the death." It seemed her brain wasn't completely fried, but Lady Whitebone remained unmoved, only snorting coldly. "Open your eyes and see who this really is." As soon as the words fell, Ningning raised her hand, preparing to peel off the skin on her face. With a rip, Zhao Yan's face appeared. The disguise was indeed extremely sophisticated. In the corner of the dungeon, the spider demon shrieked in fury, You're Zhao Yan." Hearing the ghost mother of Mount Yin's words, Zhao Yan replied calmly, "Didn't you know that we sisters from the brothel are most skilled in disguise? The righteous sword cultivator was just a ruse. I just wanted to trick you into telling the truth." Only then did the spider demon realize she had been completely fooled, and she roared in anger, "Impossible. You clearly have a sword cultivator's sword on you, and one of my puppets was just killed by a sword cultivator. I would never mistake it." But Zhao Yan wasn't annoyed at all. Instead, she said calmly, "Indeed, a few sword cultivators came to the brothel today, but who knows which one killed the demon." She continued to stroke the hilt of the sword, explaining, "The sword cultivator I entertained got drunk and inadvertently revealed that they were here to exterminate the ghost mother of Mount Een. I have to thank her Otherwise, we wouldn't have known that a thief had infiltrated the brothel. Then she raised the sword and said, "As for this sword, I stole it after getting her drunk so that my act would be convincing. How else could I fool your sharp eyes?" Seeing that she had been toyed with by a junior, the ghost mother of Mount Een flew into a rage and roared, "You dare trick me." Her fury soared, her roar shaking the heavens and earth. "I'm going to kill you." Immediately, blood-red internal energy surged. It seemed she was determined to get even, unwilling to be played like a fiddle. She struck out with a palm, her beastly claws ripping through the air. Another palm went straight for Zhao Yan. Zhao Yan cried out in alarm as she was sent flying, crashing heavily into a stone pillar. She cried out in pain, "Ah, cough." Even Lady Whitebone was startled, but the most surprised one was the spider demon. Her face was full of shock, her mind filled with questions. "I clearly didn't use much force. How did she get sent flying?" But to make the act more convincing, Zhao Yan coughed a few more times, blood spilling from her mouth. She continued to tremble as she spoke, as if uttering her last words. "Damn it, this palm seemed casual, but its internal force is profound. The poisonous wind has already seeped into my vital organs. No wonder she's the ghost mother of Mount Een. Truly ruthless." But the spider demon wanted to shout, "I've been wronged." Having lived as a demon for so many years, no one had ever dared to play her like this. The ghost mother of Mount Een cried out in despair, "You damned girl, you're lying. It was clearly just a gust of wind. But once you're seen as the villain, no one will believe you, even if you're telling the truth." Poor spider demon. Lady Whitebone was only focused on Zhao Yan's dying words. "My lady, please, you must eliminate her for the sake of our sisters in the brothel." She wanted to say more, but the words died on her lips. Her body slumped, and she breathed her last. Lady Whitebone wailed in anguish, "Zhao Yan." Only silence and Zhao Yan's lifeless form answered her. Meanwhile, the spider demon was furious. No one believed her innocence. She wanted to scream and curse, but she could only swallow her rage, thinking, that bitch put on quite a show. How could she be so shameless? Seeing her companion's heroic sacrifice, Lady Whitebone gnashed her teeth, glaring at the spider demon, wanting nothing more than to tear her apart. Called out by Lady Whitebone, her magic was all about summoning her ghastly bone minions. The bones shimmered with an eerie phosphorescent glow, their movements chilling to the bone. Lady Whitebone roared, as if ready to give her all, die. A dazzling phosphorescent light flashed as she pointed towards the giant spider, directing her bone army to attack. The spider demon, perched on her spider's back, squirmed like an ant on a hot pan. Seeing herself surrounded, she yelled, "Damn it." She launched attacks at the bones, but the lumbering skeletons were surprisingly agile, dodging left and right with unexpected dexterity. Seeing the ghost mother of Mount Een preoccupied with the bone soldiers, Lady Whitebone seized the opportunity and charged, shouting, "Old hag, prepare to die." The ghost mother of Mount Een was no pushover. Her face contorted in a grimace as she roared back, "Shut up. Today is your day to die." The two clashed, dust and debris flying everywhere, as if the earth itself was shaking. After several rounds of fighting, neither had gained the upper hand. Lady Whitebone retreated, reassessing the situation. Seeing her opponent tiring, the spider demon pressed her attack. Feeling the advantage, she grinned, a savage smile spreading across her face. She couldn't resist taunting, "Didn't see that coming, did you? You useless." Suddenly, Zhao Yan reappeared from a corner of the room, as if trying to eavesdrop. The spider demon, seeing her, cried out in shock, "You're not dead." But Lady Whitebone wasn't surprised at all. In fact, it was all part of her plan. She laughed triumphantly. "Ha. Did you think I had no backup plan?" Lady Whitebone turned slightly toward Zhao Yan and ordered, "Zhao Yan, quickly, use the escape talisman and get us out of here." She then called out urgently, "Zhao Yan." But her calls were useless. Zhao Yan began tearing at her face, a familiar action from earlier that night. The mask ripped away, revealing the familiar face beneath, Ningning's. You can call her Zhao Yan, but she was ultimately still Ningning. Finally back in her true form, she was in high spirits, laughing triumphantly. "Ha. Surprise. I came prepared with two faces." Lady Whitebone and the spider demon realized they had been tricked, both roaring in fury. "You're dead, sword cultivator." Now let's rewind time to just a stick of incense ago. Zhao Yan was chatting with Lady Whitebone when she suddenly exclaimed, "What did you just say?" She immediately became suspicious of the information she had just received. Lady Whitebone furrowed her brow, deep in thought. What's in this tower? Zhao Yin, or rather, Ningning disguised as Zhao Yin, confidently confirmed, "My lady, tonight while I was entertaining a guest, I encountered a sword cultivator. She said that beneath the soul-snatching pavilion, there's a centuries-old demon, the ghost mother of Mount Een." Feigning fear, she covered her face and continued, "It said that the ghost mother of Mount Een cultivates by absorbing human essence. She went missing a few years ago after being severely injured by the righteous sections. Could she be the reason for the scarcity of pure yang energy in this tower?" Ningning, impersonating Zhao Yin, spoke smoothly and convincingly, dramatically holding her face in feigned worry, her mask firmly in place. Ningning thought to herself, "Good thing that face almost fell off. I need to keep it on tight." Lady Whitebone, having heard Zhao Yan's, actually Ningning's, words, was still skeptical. She questioned, "A sword cultivator?" Zhao Yin confirmed again, "Yes, she claimed to be a disciple of the Twin Void sect. I didn't dare act rashly, so I got her drunk first and came to report to you, my lady." To make her lie more believable, Ningning took out the mask she had stolen from the real Zhao Yin, saying, "My lady, please look. This is the sword cultivator's face. If you don't believe me, I can wear this face and test the ghost mother of Mount Een. That old hag will surely confess her crimes." Looking at the mask spinning in the air before her, Lady Whitebone softly asked, "This is—" But she quickly realized it was real, thinking to herself, "Disguise magic. This is the exclusive evil magic of the tower's demon clan." Could everything he said be true? Resolutely, she said, "Fine," and sat up straight. Lady Whitebone, believing Ningning's words, decided, "In that case, I will personally go see this ghost mother of Mount Een." Now, Lady Whitebone was paying the price for her gullibility. However, she had to admit, everything seemed logical. Who could have imagined that Ningning had set a double trap, so cunning and unpredictable? Staggering from the damage to her true energy, Lady Whitebone trembled. "I was already careful enough, yet I still fell into this damned girl's trap." She was both furious and helpless. Lady Whitebone finally collapsed, falling to the ground. With her last bit of strength, she squeezed out a few words. "Even if I die, I will never let." But her words were cut short. Seeing her opponent fall, the spider demon regained her confidence, boldly proclaiming, "Do you think killing this old hag is the end? I am the ghost mother of Mount Een. I can command countless ghost infants. Although my power has not yet fully recovered, what can a small sword cultivator like you do to me?" As soon as she finished speaking, a small, ugly, and distorted spider appeared. But Ningning didn't care about the old hag's struggles. She calmly drew her sword and said, "Forget it. Let me introduce myself." She then performed a dazzling sword dance, like a magical girl, transforming, giving a detailed self-introduction, as if being interviewed. "I am a disciple of Celestial Fairy from the Twin Void sect, and I have descended the mountain today specifically to slay demons. You can call me." With her final sword strike, golden sword energy surrounded her like a halo. She continued, "Thousand Layer Cake, what a domineering nickname. You dare call yourself Thousand Layer with just 2 masks. But it's fine, the protagonist can do whatever they want." The spider demon was shocked and heartbroken to see the gentle, dance-like sword moves instantly slaughter the ghost infant she had just birthed. Her children died tragically before they were even born, shattering her heart. However, this also allowed her to see her opponent's true strength. The ghost mother of Mount Een worried, "I thought this girl was just bluffing, but I didn't expect her cultivation to have already reached at least the 2nd level of Golden Core. Her sword speed is like lightning, her sword energy ruthless, and her movements unpredictable." Looking at Ningning's confident expression, the old hag couldn't help but think, is this the swordsmanship of a righteous sect? At this moment, in the real world, the passive audience was watching her performance intently through the doorway connected to the illusion. The 2 elders sipped their tea while observing their disciples' actions, discussing, "All we need is a cola and some popcorn to fully enjoy this show." The master watched and asked, "Is that the sword technique you traded your pant for back in the day?" Celestial Fairy didn't feel mocked, simply stating calmly, "This is the golden snake sword technique. I didn't expect her to master it so proficiently in just a few days." Taking a sip of tea, Celestial Fairy added, she also knows how to adapt to the situation. Not bad. Very good. It seems the ghost mother spider is about to be swallowed by a venomous snake. However, the other elder didn't underestimate their opponent, saying, observe patiently. The ghost mother still has more tricks up her sleeve. Sure enough, the ghost mother wasn't planning to give up easily. Slowly lifting her legs, she thought, since I can't beat her head on, she decided to change her strategy. Then I'll attack from behind. With that, her figure blurred, vanishing in an instant. She suddenly reappeared behind Ningning. The ghost mother of Mount Een shouted, a perfect opportunity. Ningning hadn't reacted yet, only seeing the old hag disappear. The spider demon yelled, you can't escape this time. She then launched her attack while Ningning was distracted, turning her head. Contrary to the spider demon's expectations, Ningning wasn't afraid at all, instead smiling slightly. Oh really? She swung her sword again, sword energy shooting out like a giant snake, aimed directly at her opponent. The spider demon was shocked once more, staring dumbfounded at the sword energy, crying out in terror, this sword technique. This move has never appeared in the Golden Snake sword technique. Outside, the two elders also noticed the significant improvement and flexibility in Ningning's swordsmanship. Celestial Fairy, both shocked and pleased, looked at her little disciple and said, Ningning has already grasped the true meaning of the sword technique. How could she improve so quickly? But it seemed the spider demon was also showing Ningning that her cultivation wasn't just a fluke. Watching Ningning's agile and ever-changing sword chi, the demon fought back fiercely, her palms striking repeatedly, screaming, don't even think about it. Realizing this stalemate wouldn't do, Ningning thought to herself, now's my chance, and leaped into the air. She circulated her inner energy, carving out a brand new trajectory for her sword chi. The sword light intertwined, dazzling like rings, layer upon layer, suppressing her opponent. As the sword chi condensed to its peak, she proudly declared, this move is called Ning. Ningning stared resolutely at the sword's edge, the rings of sword chi interlocking, continuous and unending. She declared, divine serpent transforming into dragon. Then with a loud shout go. In that moment, all the sword chi converged into one, transforming into a majestic and ferocious dragon. The dragon's shadow shone brilliantly, as if it would incinerate the entire dark dungeon. Like lightning splitting the sky, this sword chi pierced straight through the Een Mountain ghost mother's body from high above, so fast that she didn't even realize she had been defeated. It wasn't until hot blood gushed from her mouth that she trembled and cried out, you, but could no longer utter another word. Ningning looked at her coldly, her eyes sharp as knives. She said, if I didn't practice my sword, senior brother wouldn't give me food. If you want to blame someone, blame him. Indeed, her domineering aura remained, no matter the time or place. Immediately following, the giant spider, carrying the Een Mountain ghost mother's corpse, collapsed with a thunderous crash, like a mountain crumbling, as if putting a massive period at the end of this Zhaixing Pavilion challenge. Looking at the spider demon's stiff half-body, she finally breathed a sigh of relief, landing lightly, thinking to herself, this whole time, I've been diligently practicing my sword, all for this moment. After all, in the book, the original owner was injured by her spider venom. How could I fall in the same place twice? Just as she was thinking this, a bright emerald pearl suddenly flew out from the spider demon's body. She immediately reached out and caught the pearl, then opened the system to check its information. After reading the system's description, she was overjoyed and exclaimed, as expected, if it's a once-in-a-century hidden feature, the reward must be extraordinary. This is the Een Mountain Demon Pearl. Not bad, not bad. The system clearly displayed the pearl's information. Een Mountain Demon Pearl, rank, top-tier defensive treasure, formed from the Een Mountain Ghost Mother's half-life cultivation and potent venom. Carrying it will produce wondrous effects. Suddenly, the surroundings violently shook, the dungeon ceiling looking as if it would collapse at any moment. Ningning looked around in panic, exclaiming, oh no, the barrier is broken, the underground cavern is going to collapse. With that, she hurriedly rushed out of the dungeon, dodging the falling rocks. But her running speed seemed no match for the falling rocks. It was then that she realized the advantage of long legs. Ningning ran like a short-legged corgi. The more she ran, the more she felt she couldn't keep up. In her panic, Ningning yelled, "These legs move faster." She lowered her head and charged forward, finally seeing light at the entrance of the cave, and breathed a sigh of relief, shouting, "Thank goodness, I finally see the exit." But just then, she saw a figure holding a sword standing at the entrance, seemingly waiting for her. Seeing this, her heart tightened, and she thought, wait, is that Pei Qi? His expression and aura didn't look like he was here to save anyone, but rather to hunt someone down. Life just dodged a watermelon rind, only to run into a durian shell. She thought with trepidation, he wouldn't take this opportunity to strike a fatal blow, leaving me buried in this cave forever, would he? Would he? Just as she was thinking, Pei Qi suddenly swung his sword, thrusting twice. Ningning felt certain she was about to die, screaming internally, is he really going to do it? Pei Qi's sword Qi carved across, precisely splitting the large rock that was about to fall. Subconsciously, she instinctively raised her hands to protect her face, but fortunately, the sword Qi wasn't directed at her, but rather helped her split the giant rock that was about to crush her. Opening her eyes, she found that she hadn't been killed, but saved. She looked up at Pei Qi, her face full of confusion. What's going on? Did he just help me split the rock that was about to fall? Just then, Lin Shun also arrived. The boy looked anxious and reached out to me, shouting, "Senior sister, quick, give me your hand." I reached out while running. Crying out, I finally grabbed Lin Shun's hand just a moment before the ground beneath my feet collapsed. The next second, the entire dungeon completely crumbled, turning into ruins. Emerging from the dungeon exit and seeing the lights of the Haijing pavilion, Ningning finally came to her senses, realizing she was still alive. Gasping for breath, she couldn't help but exclaim, "That scared me to death." "Thank you." Lin Shun comforted her. "It's good that senior sister is all right." Ningning also turned to thank Pei Qi. "You too, thank you for saving my life." But he remained aloof and indifferent, turning his face away and saying curtly, "Don't mention it." Seeing Pei Qi's attitude, I couldn't help but worry. Ningning thought to herself, oh no, in the original story, the one who was supposed to kill the ghost mother was the male lead, Pei Qi. The Yinshan Demon Pearl's poison is extremely potent, and it can suppress the demonic blood hidden within Pei Qi. Ningning recalled the original plot. Pei Qi was constantly tormented by demonic energy, eroded by it for years. Not only was it incredibly painful, but it gradually made him gloomy and cruel. If he had the Demon Pearl, his condition would be much better. No, this pearl has to be returned to Pei Qi. The male lead suffers enough in the early stages. I can't let him lose this too. Besides, I only got this opportunity by exploiting a plot hole. I can't keep it. Thinking this, Ningning casually tossed the Demon Pearl towards Pei Qi, feigning indifference. Why the long face? Looking down on someone. This girl didn't let you save me for nothing. Take it. Ningning acted haughty on the surface, but in her heart, she truly wanted to help Pei Qi. With an air of supreme arrogance, treating her teammates like subordinates, she pretended to be aloof. The Yinshan ghost mother was hiding under the floorboards. I've already dealt with her. She dropped this pearl. Consider it a thank you gift. I don't want to owe you any favors. Pei Qi looked at the Demon Pearl in his hand, his heart a mix of emotions. He thought, why is she? But the boy seemed to have some pride. Seeing Ningning say this, Pei Qi replied, I don't need it. But it was too late. Ningning turned and left. With a hint of mockery, just take it. Who cares about that broken pearl anyway? Before she could finish her sentence, a fatal flick landed on her head. Ningning hadn't even reacted, only managing to yelp, ouch. Before Master Tianqian's voice rang out, what do you mean, broken pearl? This is the Yinshan Demon Pearl, a top-tier treasure. Master continued, this girl, I was just about to praise your performance today, but you don't even know how to appreciate valuable things. Serves you right for being poor. It was then that Ningning realized she was no longer in the illusion. She exclaimed, Master, Martial Uncle. She looked left and right, seemingly still in disbelief. Ningning shouted, we're out. Master Tianqian immediately held a small commendation ceremony for his meritorious disciples. He said to Ningning, Master Jinxiao, and I saw everything that happened at the star-reaching pavilion. You performed the best and even grasped a variation of the golden snake sword technique. You were the most outstanding today, fully meeting the criteria for commendation. Next came the prize giving. Tianxian handed the reward to Ningning. Your master specially prepared a small gift for you as a reward. Take it. Use it to buy whatever you want to eat. For a hungry girl, this was like a dream come true. In Ningning's heart, food was always her true love. Ningning's eyes lit up, and she said gratefully, "Thank you, master." But in her heart, she was already incredibly excited, thinking, anything I want to eat. Could it be one of those super tokens that can change the situation in an instant? Make the restaurant ladies kneel at my skirt, begging me to eat more. Just thinking about it made Ningning feel like her life was blossoming. She smiled brightly. Master is the best. I will definitely cherish the reward master gave me. She quickly looked down at what was in her hand, stuttering, unable to speak. Chopsticks. Master, are you teasing me? Sigh, how disappointing. Ningning pinched the chopsticks, puzzled. What does master mean? It was then that she understood her master's meaning. Pick up your chopsticks and eat whatever you want. Understanding the deeper meaning in her master's words, she couldn't help but admire him. Top-notch reasoning, truly the strongest master. With the rewards distributed, it was time for the grand finale. Tianxian slapped Jin Xiao on the shoulder, grinning like a buddy, and said to his disciples, "You've all worked hard today. Master Jin Xiao and I still have things to do, so we won't keep you. Go back to your rooms and rest." As soon as he finished speaking, Master Jin Xiao dragged Tianxian away. Each had their own pursuits, one obsessed with sparring, the other chasing after 10,000 spirit stones. They were a bit tired, but they both enjoyed it. Seeing their masters leave, Lin Shun turned to Ningning and Pei Qi, cupping his hands in farewell. "Senior sister, junior brother, I'll take my leave as well. This trip to the star-reaching pavilion has made me realize I still have many shortcomings. I must cultivate more diligently." Ningning was as enthusiastic as ever. Go for it. It seemed she was eager for everyone to go back and rest. Seeing Lin Shun make an excuse to leave, Ningning also wanted to find a reason to slip away. Everyone was leaving, so she thought, I should too. But before she could finish, Pei Qi interrupted her, calling out, "Senior sister," and looking at her with a meaningful gaze. Notiking Pei hits unusual behavior, Ningning suddenly felt frustrated. What did he want? She didn't know. At this moment, Pei Qi's mind was a tangled mess. He was repeatedly weighing his options. She thought this bead was worthless and casually threw it to me. Now that she knows it's precious, she must be regretting it to death. Meanwhile, a completely different scene was playing out in Ningning's mind. She looked him up and down, left and right, trying to find something amiss. Logically speaking, the male lead shouldn't like a conceited and arrogant senior sister like me. Why did he suddenly call me senior sister? Could it be? Seeing him still staring at her with that strange look, Ningning felt uncomfortable. Clutching the chopsticks she won as a prize, she wrinkled her nose and said, "What are you looking at? Are you jealous that I got the chopsticks? I won't share them with you." She held the chopsticks like an old dog guarding a bone. Pei Qi was speechless, unable to say anything. Ningning, completely oblivious, assumed he was jealous because their master had acknowledged her skill and felt secretly displeased. As a vicious villain, how could I be generous? The male lead must be staring at these chopsticks because master praised me. She felt that if she stayed any longer, Pei Qi might try to snatch her prize. So she turned and ran, thinking of the 36 stratagems. Running away is the best. Pei Qi was left standing there, still holding the bead, looking bewildered, not understanding what had just happened. He stared blankly at the bead, completely baffled by Ningning's thoughts. This bead was worth a fortune. How could she only care about a pair of wooden chopsticks? By now, everyone else had left, and little Jiang Ling finally dared to show himself. Looking at the eerie bead, he couldn't help but exclaim, "My goodness, this is the demon bead of the ghost mother of Ean Mountain. A treasure rarely seen in 100 years. She actually just gave it to you." He then speculated thoughtfully, "I don't think that girl is stupid. She must like you. But who could be that foolish? It's so unlike a human." Jiang Ling continued, "So she definitely likes you." Pei Qi neither refuted nor agreed, only gazing deeply in the direction Ningning had disappeared, his heart filled with an inexplicable confusion. He recalled his own upbringing. This was the first time anyone had willingly given him a gift. Why? She clearly knew I was. He didn't dare to continue that thought. He remembered being bullied, beaten, and humiliated by his peers as a child, while they chanted, "What good can come from the child of a demonic cultivator?" He thought painfully, "I am the son of a demonic cultivator." Because everyone fears the demonic race, no one wants to be my friend. He carefully tucked the bead into his robes, his heart filled with mixed emotions. It was the first time someone had cared for him like this. He was so unworthy, yet she was still willing to be kind to him. Jiangling seemed to see through Pei Qi's thoughts and followed up by praising Ning Ning. "That girl is so nice. She's beautiful, kind-hearted, and works so hard to help others. If I were you, I would have already knelt at the fairy's skirt." But Pei Qi didn't want to listen to the little guy's nonsense. He turned and left. Seeing his master leaving, Jiangling quickly chased after him, calling out reluctantly, "Hey, don't go." "Pei Qi, where are you going?" He replied coldly, "To practice my swordsmanship." Meanwhile, back in her own courtyard, Ning Ning was also diligently practicing her swordsmanship, because she had understood the importance of diligent practice. Just as she was fully focused on each strike, the familiar ding-ding sound rang out. Startled, she said, "System, you were right." The system sent her a new notification. After the star-picking pavilion incident, you felt bored and decided to go to Clear Villa Valley for a change of scenery. Unexpectedly, you encountered Elder One Hemian, who has lost all his cultivation. Please follow the established script and humiliate One Hemian. It had been a while since anything major had happened, and Ning Ning had almost forgotten how eventful her life was supposed to be. Hearing the system prompt, she thought happily, "Oh, finally, it's this character's turn to appear." She recalled the plot. He was the youngest elder in the history of the Dual Peak Sword sect. In the original story, One Hemian was born with a sword heart and was a genius from a young age. Unfortunately, 10 years ago, during the war between immortals and demons, he and several other experts joined forces to slay the demon lord, but he was severely injured, ultimately shattering his spiritual bones, collapsing his sea of consciousness, and losing all his cultivation. Since then, he had been living in seclusion in Clear Villa Valley. She remembered the original plot. The disciples all knew there was a senior living in the valley and usually didn't dare to approach. But after being injured at the star-picking pavilion, the original Ning Ning was in a depressed mood and acted impulsively. After reading the mission, Ning Ning barged in, somewhat lost in thought. This mission was likely about recreating that particular scene from the plot. She smacked her lips and muttered under her breath, "Oh well, I have to face it sooner or later. I'll figure it out when I get there." She channeled her sword chi to control the wind and quickly arrived at her destination. Ning Ning landed on a patch of emerald green grass. The air here was exceptionally fresh. She looked around and said, "The scenery here is so serene. No wonder it's a place where immortals recuperate." She looked towards the forest ahead, thinking that when Hemian must be inside. She walked in gently. Thinking back, it was when Hemian who first discovered the original host's extraordinary talent. Ning Ning tiptoed across a stream on a rock, recalling the original story as she walked. He had said that if the original host wanted to embark on the path of cultivation, she could go to the double different sword sect and take him as her master. She still remembered that meeting clearly, when Hemian had given her a jade pendant. If those things hadn't happened later, when Hemian would have been her master. Perhaps because of this, the original host treated him so harshly. The original host had once held that jade pendant, her eyes full of ambition. The reason she spoke so cruelly to Wenhemian was because she believed her master should be the most exceptional person. In the original host's mind, a cripple was utterly ridiculous. Lost in her recollection of the original story, Ning Ning hadn't noticed that she had walked into a garden. She leaned against a large tree to rest, but the plot of the original story still lingered in her mind. Unexpectedly, later in the story, when Hemian recovered his cultivation due to a fortuitous encounter, and the original host even went to fawn over him, calling him master. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but feel resentful towards the original host, thinking to herself, "This truth makes me feel embarrassed for her." Suddenly, she heard the sound of a zither coming from the distance. Someone was sitting on a flat stone under a tree, playing the zither. She looked down at the rugged path ahead. It wouldn't be easy to get there. But even from a distance, she could clearly see that the person was Wenhemian. He was quietly playing the zither, immersed in the music. This was also the first time she had seen Wenhemian in the book. Ning Ning stared at Wenhemian's back, lost in thought. The book said that the original host had looked down on Wenhemian for a long time, not only speaking harshly to him, but also smashing his ancient zither with a large rock. Such behavior was truly excessive. But in this story, the original host wasn't just bad, she was utterly wicked. But what could she do? This was the path she had to take, the shackles forced upon her by that damned system. Ning Ning picked up a large rock from the ground, thinking, since the script says to smash it, then smash it I shall. She walked towards Wenhemian, carrying the rock, vaguely thinking that all the people the original host had offended later became important figures that couldn't be provoked. This kind of luck was like winning the anti-lottery, a beachfront villa level of misfortune. As she was walking, her footsteps suddenly faltered and she couldn't move any further. She was startled, her mind filled with confusion. My legs, why can't I move them? But she quickly realized something was wrong. She tried to move her arms, but she couldn't. Her whole body was stiff. At this moment, Ning Ning anxiously thought, it seems like my whole body is frozen. At this point, I can only rely on that damn system. She focused all her will and hammered at the system, demanding system, come out here. What's going on? Soon, the system explained to her, you've been poisoned by the bewildering flower. This flower grows densely in the clear Villa Valley. Any cultivator below the nascent soul stage will become completely paralyzed upon smelling its fragrance, lasting for the time it takes an incense stick to burn. Once you adapt, the toxicity will naturally subside. After hearing the explanation, she was instantly terrified. An incense stick's worth of time. Am I going to be stuck here like this? Won't Wenhemian just leave? How come the original host never encountered this? Is my luck even worse than hers? What was worse? Her hands could barely hold on. That's right, she couldn't move, but the weight of the rock hadn't lessened at all. Her hands trembled, about to lose their grip. She thought, oh no, it would have been better if I had picked up a smaller rock. But science proved that Earth's gravity was always the strongest. The rock would eventually fall to the ground. According to Newton's law, it was as simple as that. The rock slipped from her hands and crashed heavily to the ground. The sound of the rock hitting the ground was definitely not quiet. Seeing Ning Ning's sweat-covered face, one could tell how serious this was. As soon as the sound rang out, she could only scream internally, it's over. The thud of the rock immediately caught Wenhemian's attention. He looked up in the direction of the sound to see who it was. His gaze fell upon Ning Ning, her face clouded with gloom, tears streaming down her cheeks. Anyone could see she was crying from the awkwardness of the situation. But Wenhemian thought differently. Looking at her tear-streaked face, he thought, this melody holds boundless sorrow, yet it's not easily perceived. Others only hear its carefree lightness. He continued to watch Ning Ning, thinking everyone who hears this melody will find it relaxing and free. He looked directly into her tear-filled eyes, a pang of pity in his heart. Only she, he thought, would shed tears after hearing it. Seeing her distress, Wenhemian suddenly felt a flicker of panic. This, he thought, this is a kindred spirit, nothing more. But she seemed unable even to call for help. Ning Ning screamed internally, Master, save me. Stop this. But in reality, she couldn't make a sound. All she could do was cry, tears flowing freely. Wenhemian watched her mouth move as if she were trying to speak. What is she saying? He wondered. Wenhemian continued to try and decipher her words from the shape of her mouth. Escape the painful past he thought he saw. Then he retreated into his own world, nodding and smiling with self-satisfaction. What a thoughtful and understanding little apprentice. She must know my situation and is comforting me in her own way. Finally, someone has come to visit this forgotten cripple. He sighed. A kindred spirit is hard to find, and the melody's end is hard to reach. Ah, with just a few tears, this old crane can weave a seamless melodrama. Truly, even the heavens don't want me to be the villain. He looked down at the guqin in his hands, gently stroking the strings, a sudden heaviness in his heart. But her past nightmares so easily escaped. The melody resonated towards Ning Ning once more, and she cried even harder, sobbing. This melody, when Ning Ning realized the music was still playing, She wanted to completely break down. She screamed desperately in her mind, "Why are you playing with even more vigor, you old mad dog? I'm still a child. Ha ha ha. Give me another chance." Looking down at her feet, Ningning cried even harder. "Is this the real-life version of shooting myself in the foot?" Woo-woo. Mist gradually gathered, obscuring her vision. Meanwhile, One Hemian was still immersed in playing, taking it as a response from a kindred spirit. She looked at him, utterly bewildered. Didn't they say Elder One was aloof, but wise? Didn't they say he adhered to the Taoist principles, full of righteousness? But her expression immediately changed again, and she cried out in vain, "Why is he acting like a heartless villain today?" She started cursing him fiercely in her mind. "You bastard. You stingy wretch." After venting her frustration, she realized it was useless. Ningning turned to the useless system and asked, "Has the time of one incense stick passed?" There was no response, no prompt. But suddenly, she felt the sensation return to her legs and cried out joyfully, "I can move." But as soon as she registered her instability, she began to tilt again, her legs completely numb. My legs are numb. Help!" she cried. But it seemed no one would come to her aid. When Hemian saw Ningning suddenly collapse, and this damned Sherzuin, when Hemian, immediately conjured up a new scene in his mind. It seems this young lady is too heartbroken, unable to bear the emotional burden, and has fainted. What has she gone through to make such an understanding child so devastated? At this moment, Ningning was dragging herself along pathetically, struggling to shout the most impactful curse. "Damn it, the poison's worn off, but my body is still weak." Just when she was completely despairing, believing no one would help her, a hand suddenly appeared before her. When Hemian's voice rang out, "Fellow Taoist, there's a saying about trying to save face while starving, and this situation is precisely like that." Though extremely weak and without strength, she managed to force out, "I don't need. I can manage on my own." Seeing Ningning's shyness, screenwriter When Hemian concocted another new plotline. It seems this little apprentice is introverted and shy around strange men. Well, it's understandable. She hasn't seen outsiders for so long. It's only natural to be a bit flustered. Ningning's body gradually regained its flexibility, but her legs remained immobile. She thought worriedly, "Oh no, my legs are still numb." Just as she was about to fall again, a man's hand suddenly grabbed her arm. "Careful," he exclaimed. Then he supported her with both hands and said respectfully, "Fellow Taoist, your unsteadiness must be due to emotional trauma, damaging the meridians in your limbs. You mustn't move recklessly, or your meridians might rupture, causing severe injury to your limbs." But the longer she delayed, the more awkward it felt, so she decided to just give up. "I am tired. Might as well ruin everything." Closing her eyes, as if to solidify her resolve, she said, "If I said my leg was just asleep, would you believe me?" Suddenly, she remembered something When Hemian had said earlier. Her heart skipped a beat. Wait, didn't he say something about being consumed by anger and even rupturing meridians? Could it be true? She was still highly skeptical. "I'm a cultivator after all. It would be ridiculous if I became like this just from inhaling some pollen." Ningning thought she should test it out. "Wiggling my toes should be fine." She gently moved her toes. Sure enough, everything was normal. She cheered inwardly. The stinging numbness was completely gone. Ningning felt a sense of relief. It seems it really was just my leg falling asleep. Now that she knew she was fine, she glared at When Hemian, her face full of displeasure. "I almost got tricked by this liar. Rupture meridians, anger-induced coma. How ridiculous. Your legs would go numb too if you stood for so long." Of course, When Hemian couldn't possibly know what Ningning was thinking and just looked at her blankly. Despite her anger, Ningning hadn't forgotten her manners. With a forced smile, she said, as expected of Elder One, truly discerning. But her words seemed to hurt When Hemian. He lowered his voice and said, "I, When Hemian, am nothing but a cripple. I don't deserve such praise." Perhaps he had been in the mountains for too long and didn't understand sarcasm. His words stunned Ningning and even made her a little angry. "When Hemian, what are you doing? I'm so obviously mocking you." At least get a little angry. But the fact was, he didn't care whether she was being sarcastic or not. What truly concerned him was why she had been crying. He said, "I saw you crying when you listened to my playing. Young cultivator, but I don't know why. I can't offer much help, but perhaps I can share your sorrow." His words made Ningning even more frustrated. She frowned, thinking, did this guy win some Best Actor award in his past life? He was clearly enjoying playing as Zither while I was crying my eyes out, and now he's putting on this good guy act. But When Hemian looked completely innocent, as if he genuinely knew nothing. But seeing When Hemian's calm and innocent expression, Ning Ning wavered. Could he really not understand? Her gaze flickered, doubt filling her mind. Maybe it's true. That calm, detached, and harmless aura of his makes it hard to tell what's real and what's not. Does he really not know why I was crying? The fog in the valley was so thick. You probably didn't even see the rock under my foot. And I could only communicate with gestures, so it's normal that he didn't understand. And then there were his words about being moved to tears by music. The self-blame and sorrow hidden within when Hemian's playing were so deep that most people would only feel a sense of ease and wouldn't be able to hear them at all. Could he think that I sensed those emotions and was moved by them? Thinking about it, everything seemed to make sense. But this new logic didn't make her happy. It made her even more irritated. She waved her hand in annoyance. No, understanding the deeper meaning of the music and being moved to tears isn't how a villain should act. My ancestors won't let me be a bad guy. This is so hard. Seeing the plot deviate further and further from the original, she knew she had to toughen up. She angrily flung his hand away and shouted, "I wasn't sad because of your zither playing. I hate that sad stuff. I never want to hear it again." With that, she picked up the rock at her feet, ready to carry out her original plan. She shouted, "I don't like it," and walked towards the zither. Raising the rock, she declared, "Don't ever play it again." Then, she slammed the rock down, smashing the zither to pieces. One Hemian was completely stunned by Ning Ning's actions. After destroying the zither, Ning Ning turned and left without looking back. Before leaving, she didn't forget to throw in a taunt. A person who calls himself a sword immortal, willingly wasting away here, becoming a cripple. She pointed at one Hemian, the cruelest words tumbling out, "You'll probably spend the rest of your life guarding that broken zither." As soon as the words left her mouth, she couldn't believe it herself, screaming internally, "Oh no, that was too harsh." When Hemian's face was filled with shock and bewilderment, he thought, so she doesn't like sad music and she doesn't want me to play anymore. He recalled the time after he lost his cultivation, when the sect elders came to visit. No one said anything directly, only comforting him and telling him to focus on recovering. Only this young girl had said directly, "Don't play those sad songs anymore." At this moment, the image of Ning Ning in Hemian's mind was incredibly firm, like a river flowing upstream. He continued to think, "Otherwise, I'll be trapped here forever, accompanied only by my sorrowful zither music." But she's too naive. Even if she smashes this zither, it's useless. I'm beyond saving. Someone who has lost all their cultivation has no future. He walked towards her gently and called softly, "Young lady." "Young lady." But she said coldly, "I'm leaving." She turned decisively to leave, and as if worried when Hemian hadn't given up completely, still mistaking her for a kindred spirit, she looked back and said her final words, "I hate you, and I hate your zither music. I was crying because a rock hit my foot." Then Ning Ning shouted loudly, "Jing Jing," and ran off into the wind, leaving one Hemian gazing at her retreating figure with a gentle smile. A rock hitting her foot, what kind of excuse is that? She's so adorably foolish. Night fell, and she lay in her room, her thoughts in turmoil. Although she knew she was the villain, she hadn't truly harmed anyone while doing her missions before, but tonight's encounter with when Hemian left her tossing and turning, unable to sleep. She muttered to herself, "But this time is different." She had to sit up, her face full of worry, her heart extremely uneasy. She thought, "I actually said such harsh words to someone who was already so dejected, almost on the verge of collapse." Recalling when Hemian's pitiful appearance, she couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. Even the original story mentioned that after being mocked by the original Ning Ning, when Hemian became even more self-deprecating and depressed. Yet this afternoon, even after being humiliated and hurt, he still gently asked her why she was suddenly crying and if she needed help. He was clearly a pure fool who couldn't even understand sarcasm. Ning Ning sadly hugged her knees, feeling down. Besides, she actually really liked his zither music, but she had said such hurtful things. This is bad. Oh my God, is this what they call angst? Hurting someone else, but ending up being the one who's most hurt. She felt herself sinking deeper and deeper, and to make herself Ching Xing Yidan, she even slapped herself a few times. She whispered, No, Ning Ning, you have to pull yourself together. You have to do something for him." She imagined when Hemian all alone in the deep mountains, and her heart ached. One Hemian lived in seclusion in Qingshu Valley, estranged from the other elders, and the disciples were unwilling to approach him. He had been lonely for so many years, enduring the rumors of being a cripple and a fallen genius. It was no wonder he was so self-deprecating. Suddenly, an idea struck her. I remember the Shuangshu sword sect often uses messaging talismans to communicate. If I send an unsigned letter, he won't know my identity. She decided to send Wenhemian an anonymous letter. Ningning continued to think, this way I can pretend to be Elder Wenhemian's little fangirl and comfort him during his most difficult time. He would never guess that this warm and lovely fangirl is actually that sharp-tongued disciple. Thinking of this brilliant plan, she couldn't help but praise herself. I'm such a genius. Ningning clenched her fists, full of determination. Her face was full of fighting spirit. In her heart, this task was as important as the system's tasks. Ningning secretly made up her mind. I will protect Elder Wenhemian's gentle soul. In the night, a letter flew towards Wenhemian's residence in Qingshu Valley. At this time, he was immersed in the scrolls in his study when the letter landed softly beside him. Wenhemian looked at it with confusion. It had been a long time since he had received a letter. Recognizing the messaging talisman, he immediately opened the envelope, his face still full of curiosity, unsure where the talisman had come from. It was an anonymous disciple's recent progress report, and everyone knew who wrote it. The letter was long and emotional, and the content was as follows. I am a newly initiated disciple, and I have always admired Elder Wenhemian. I will be very happy if you could see this letter. I heard that you were injured in the great battle and are now in secluded cultivation to heal your wounds. I don't know how you're doing now. I really hope to meet you in person one day. Please don't be sad. I and many others will not forget you. Although you haven't appeared for many years, the spirit of Sword Saint General has always been in our hearts. Although I'm still very weak now, as long as it is for you, I will definitely cultivate diligently, hoping to one day find a way to restore your sea of consciousness and allow you to return to the great path. Please be patient and wait for that day. I will do my best. Please don't mind my name for now. I will meet you when I fulfill my promise. A letter full of a loyal fan's heartfelt sentiments. It's a good thing an AI is reading this. Otherwise, anyone who read this passage would be dying of cringe. Even though he had lost all his cultivation, Wenhemian was still an elder, and he quickly recognized the origin of the letter. The spiritual energy on this messaging talisman was gentle and soft, yet carried the cold, killing intent of the sword path, clearly identical to the young lady who had barged into the valley during the day. He smiled slightly, not expecting her to think of using this method. He gazed at the letter, thinking to himself, although only those with profound cultivation can sense each person's unique spiritual energy, she certainly didn't expect that even though I've lost all my cultivation, I can still tell. She said she hoped to meet me one day. What a pretender. Despite this, he picked up his pen, preparing to reply. After finishing, he released the message talisman, muttering to himself, go. Although she didn't explicitly say who she was, as long as I use the same talisman, the message will automatically be delivered to the sender. He looked at the messenger crane, his eyes flickering with hope, thinking she will definitely receive my reply. His reply was incredibly endearing. He even referred to himself as Elder Mu, titling the letter Mu Ming's musings. Today, a disciple secretly entered the Hall of Emptiness. Judging by her aura, she seems to be a Jindan cultivator. Do you know her name? This was clearly a tactic to subtly inquire about the other party, referring to the recipient herself. But Ningning was too innocent. She thought he was angry and wanted to find out who had been disrespectful to him. So she immediately replied anonymously. That was Senior Sister Ningning, under Elder Tian Jingshi. She's very powerful. We disciples are all afraid of her. If she offended you today, I apologize on her behalf. Please don't take it to heart. Her temper has always been a bit bad. Please don't be upset. Seeing the reply, Hemian secretly laughed. This little girl was still indirectly apologizing to him, even though she hadn't done anything wrong. Hemian cherished the letter in his hand, softly reading, Ningning. So her name is Ningning. Elsewhere, the entire room echoed with coughs, as if someone was injured. A man stumbled step by step towards a room, blood dripping along the way, staining the path red. He gritted his teeth, persevering until he reached the door, gripping the door frame, struggling to stay upright, but ultimately collapsing to the ground. The coughing continued intermittently. Jiangling frantically shook him beside him. Pei wake up. The demonic energy within you is about to erupt again. You insisted on going to the martial arts field today. Look at you now. If you keep pushing yourself like this, I'm afraid you really won't make it. But Pei seemed to hear nothing, his face pale as he gradually slipped into unconsciousness. The demonic energy within him roared incessantly. Kill, kill, kill. He tightly clutched his wound, desperately trying to stay conscious, preventing the demonic energy from controlling him. Jiangling's face was filled with anxiety as he repeatedly called his name. Pei struggled to speak. Ugh, I've endured it for so many years. I can get through this too. I will never succumb, never become a demon who only knows how to kill. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a noise outside the door. Both of them were startled and looked toward the entrance. A familiar voice called out, "Junior brother, are you in there?" The night was dark and still. Ningning stood quietly outside Pei's door, waiting for a response, but there was no sound. Ningning thought, I clearly saw him return just now. He must still be inside. Thinking this, she called out again, "Grandmaster knows you were injured today and asked me to bring you medicine." He stirred behind the door but didn't dare open it, only saying coldly, "Leave it at the door." She replied from outside, "Can you open the door? I have something to give you personally." He asked worriedly, "What is it?" She answered somewhat awkwardly, "It's nothing important. Just leave it with the medicine." Despite saying this, Ningning sensed something was amiss. Thinking to herself, his voice sounds strange. She gently placed the medicine box at the door, silently pondering. The original story said Pei had extremely potent demonic energy within him, a force that often clashed with others' bloodlines. Whenever the demonic energy surged, he would experience intense pain throughout his body, and only killing could alleviate it. But he was unwilling to kill, so for years he had forcibly suppressed the demonic energy, even resorting to self-harm to use pain to suppress it. She thought again, Pei wouldn't be so petty as to not open the door just because I brought him medicine. He refused the physician's treatment after the duel and returned to his room directly. It must be because of this. After a long while, Pei didn't hear any more noise from outside. His hair still hung to the ground, but he seemed oblivious. He thought she must have left, but just as he was certain Ningning had gone, her voice came again from outside. "Are you carrying the Yinshan ghost pearl I gave you?" Hearing this, he abruptly looked up, shocked to find Ningning still standing outside the door, her face filled with worry. She was thinking, although the Yinshan ghost pearl can't completely cure him, it can alleviate some of the pain. If he has the pearl, but keeps it in a drawer, wouldn't that be a waste? But Ningning suddenly realized her words were too blunt and panicked internally. Oh no, Pei doesn't know the Yinshan ghost pearl can suppress demonic energy, and I just directly told him to carry it with him. I gave it to him. Ningning suddenly recalled a scene from a historical drama where characters exchanged tokens of love and couldn't help but shiver. The current situation felt just like that. Afraid that Pei would misunderstand, she quickly explained, I heard that the Yin Mountain Ghost Pearl can cure illnesses. If you accidentally get poisoned while cultivating, junior brother, it can help you pull through. But inside the house, Jiangling seemed intent on playing matchmaker, laughing and saying, the little girl just wants you to remember this token of love, Pei. But Pei himself didn't want to jump into this so-called destiny. Perhaps his heart was already frozen, or perhaps he simply felt too insecure. At this moment, he was sitting in his room, drawing out his dagger, his heart filled with bitterness. What token of love? Where in the world is there such a thing as unprovoked affection? He thought. He then made another cut on his wrist, reopening an old wound. Fresh blood mingled with renewed pain. But the turmoil in his heart hurt even more than the wound. Even if she does have some feelings for me, he thought, it's only because she noticed this useless face of mine. Such cheap affection will soon vanish like smoke. Fighting back the pain in his body and soul, he murmured, thank you, senior sister, but this Yin Mountain Demon Pearl is too precious. I don't deserve it. Please take it back. Hearing this, Ningning immediately retorted, you saved my life, so of course I have to repay you. This pearl. Before she could finish, Pei's door suddenly cracked open. He looked at her seriously, his eyes firm. I've already said, don't try to persuade me anymore. But before he could finish, she suddenly lunged forward and stuffed a large bun into his mouth, effectively muffling his words into indistinct MMPH sounds. Seeing that he couldn't retort, Ningning continued. I won't listen to anything you say. You have to accept the pearl, or I'll be very. She tried to put on a stern face, wanting Pei Ji to understand her resolve. Then she added, very angry. I'm scary when I'm angry. As she spoke, she pointed at Pei Ji, who was still chewing on the bun, obedient as a puppy. These are the custard buns I bought. They have to be eaten warm. That's why I brought them to you personally. Ningning continued to feign anger, but her eyes gradually reddened, as if she were about to cry. She berated him, don't spit it out, eat it. Do you know how much this cost me? This is 1/10 of all my savings. I'm really poor. If you spit it out, it's like tearing at my senior sister's flesh. Pei Ji could only remain silent, unable to spit out the bun, even if he wanted to argue. Seeing that her stubborn junior brother was finally obedient, Ningning turned to leave, not forgetting to remind him, the medicine box is at your door. Remember to apply medicine. I'm leaving. With that, she vanished out the front gate of the house like a squirrel. Only Pei Ji remained inside, slowly savoring the bun, his heart filled with mixed emotions. He had prepared so many cold, sarcastic words, but he looked at the bun in his hand, thinking sadly, I'm so useless. I can't even bring myself to be angry with her. But a warmth also rose in his heart. Pei Ji murmured to himself, so sweet. I wonder if it's the aftertaste of the bun, or the warmth Ningning brought lingering in my heart. At that moment, behind the wall next to Pei Ji's house, Ningning was leaning against the wall, lamenting the state of her wallet with a soft sigh. This broken system hasn't given me a mission in ages, and today it had to be this harsh. I'm already so poor, and the original host had to act up, hiring people to spend all her private money, and, in the end, she recalled the unfortunate mission the system had given her last night. Seeing that the elders all like Pei Ji, you become even more jealous and start plotting revenge, so you hire people to cause him trouble. Seeing this, she had to admit it was the perfect template for a vicious female supporting character. But a mission was a mission, and it had to be completed. Although Pei Ji would definitely be able to defeat them single-handedly in the end, he was still injured in today's competition. Thinking of this, she wrote a letter. Tomorrow at dinner, Pei Ji's house, Xuan Xin will make his move. After writing it, she secretly sent the letter out, thinking to herself, if he fights those people again tomorrow, his injuries will definitely be worse. Soon, night fell over Ningning's courtyard, and everything seemed to sink into slumber, except for Ningning, who was still thinking, Junior brother, consider this custard bun my apology in advance. Good luck tomorrow. Meanwhile, someone received Ningning's letter and seemed to be preparing a reply. It was a stranger with a gentle smile that hid a calculating mind. He had just released the letter. The stranger stood at the window, watching the letter drift away. Perhaps there were many more scheming individuals yet to reveal themselves, and the storm would continue. The next night, at Pei Ji's house, he wasn't sleeping. Instead, he paced the courtyard with Lin Shun. Lin Shun's familiar nagging echoed in the quiet courtyard. Your injuries from yesterday haven't healed yet, and now you're practicing this late. Do you have no regard for your own body? Pei Ji deliberately ignored his nagging and continued walking deeper into the courtyard. But Lin Shun continued chattering, showing no signs of stopping. Hey kid, are you even listening to me? Suddenly, a sharp whistle pierced the air, and a group of strangers appeared before him. The two sides faced off, Pei Ji staring in astonishment. He immediately became alert, preparing to draw his sword, as these people were clearly hostile. But he still asked, "Who are you?" The group brandished their knives and clubs, trying to intimidate him. A burly man who looked like their leader raised his broadsword and said, "You're out of luck today. Someone hired us to teach you a lesson. We've been waiting for this day for a long time." Just then, a shout came from behind him. Is this Pei Ji's courtyard? He couldn't help but look back. Heavy footsteps grew closer and closer. Judging by the sound, there were quite a few people approaching. Another man who looked like a leader roared aggressively from the courtyard gate. Where's Pei Ji? The newly arrived group suddenly came face to face with the first group, both sides looking stunned. They were probably just as confused, like Spider-Man meeting Batman, both there for the same reason, but unsure who the main character was. Someone in the first group blurted out in surprise, "Why are there so many people?" By now, Pei Ji was ready to draw his sword and fight them all, while the group outside the courtyard behind him hadn't made a move yet. Perhaps tonight, this place was destined to be exceptionally lively.